Chapter 1049. Only he would agree to such a boring request. At the same time, Ishu, who still had a rosy complexion, walked out neatly dressed. As she walked, her legs trembled slightly. Ishu naturally felt embarrassed when Wang Kai saw her like this. She glared back at him in embarrassment. It doesn't matter. Since they want to compete, let them compete. Bin Xiao won't be at a disadvantage. When the time comes, he will be able to obtain many divine spirits. It will save him the trouble of having to do it himself. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled casually. Yo-yo, don't you want to look for that bitch by you? She is waiting for you to F***ck her. Ishu smiled disdainfully. Her face was filled with mockery. By you, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes when he heard this. He could not help but take out the token that Bai Yu had left behind. After toying with it for a while, he waved his hand and crushed it. Crack! Ishu's eyes immediately turned red when she saw the token shatter. She hurriedly hugged Wang Kai gently and said, I knew it. You're the best to me. Wang Kai was truly speechless in response to this. He had crushed the token because it had already fulfilled its duty. From the beginning, Wang Kai knew that the token was to let Bai Yu know that he had stepped into the stone's sacred domain and his exact location. Since it was already the second day in the stone's sacred domain, Bai Yu must have received the news. Since that was the case, there was no point in keeping it. However, who would have thought that Ishu would completely misunderstand his actions? Instead, she loved him even more. Forget it. Sometimes, some lies are made with good intentions. I won't expose them. Wang Kai grinned and secretly smiled proudly. Yes, of course. Bin Xiao has always been loyal. You're the first person to obtain Ben Xiao's body. Furthermore, you're the first person to F***ck Ben Xiao. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled gently. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Swoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, Ishu's beautiful brows instantly frowned. Never had she imagined that Wang Kai would actually speak such words. You're using sweet words to deceive me again, right? You have so many fancy moves, and your technique is so skilled. Your movements are so fast and so exciting. How could you be number one? Ishu pursed her red lips and said in a rather displeased manner. Wang Kai's mouth twitched slightly when he heard this. He was just bragging, but she really took it seriously. In desperation, he could only say very patiently, even if you haven't eaten pork, haven't you seen a pig run? Some things do not need to be experienced to understand. You have to believe Ben Xiao. You are really Ben Xiao's first woman. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Jing Xian, please don't be angry. I'm also very tired. I have to take care of everything. But don't worry, you are the woman I really like the most. Wang Kai sighed again and again in his heart. Wang Kai was not surprised that there was no system reward. Indeed, Jing Xian had always been the woman he loved the most. She was also his first woman. Really? It had to be said that women in love were often very simple-minded. With just a few explanations, Ishu's beautiful eyes were dazed, and she had the thought of believing him. Moreover, this thought was still growing. Of course it's true. If it wasn't the first time, Bin Xiao wouldn't have done it so many times in one night. Don't you think so? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and said with a sincere expression, Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. How would I know? It's also the first time. Ishu blushed and muttered in a low voice. Hearing this, Wang Kai immediately felt relieved. It's also the first time. This sentence undoubtedly proved that she completely believed in him. It seems that I can have a good time tonight. She will definitely serve Ben Xiao in every way possible. Ben Xiao is really too smart. Wang Kai squinted his eyes, and his expression was quite proud. He was secretly proud of himself in his heart. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Ayaya, do you want to do it again now? Succeeding the second time is the way of the king. Otherwise, you'll lose face, right? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and couldn't help but say with a thirst, "Whoosh." Hearing this, Ishu's face suddenly turned red. She had just been coaxed by Wang Kai's sweet words. How could she reject him now? Even her heart was very soft, and she couldn't wait to do it with him again. Seeing that Ishu was so shy that she didn't speak, Wang Kai's heart suddenly jumped violently. He immediately struck the iron while it was hot and carried her up. He laughed and said, "Let's go. Bin Xiao will use his supreme skills in bed to make you feel good." This kind of skill is something that no one has ever enjoyed before. It's absolutely awesome. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through the realm and reaching the realm of level 5 Great Sage. Aya, it's broad daylight. Be gentler. In the blink of an eye, under Ishu's symbolic struggle, beautiful music was heard in the room. Even the birds outside shyly closed their eyes and retracted their heads into the feathers on their chests. Stone Divine Territory, Central Area. Within the Bai family mansion, within a beautiful courtyard. Bai Lao, do you think Wang Kai will take the initiative to come to me when he comes to the Stone Divine Territory? Bai was wearing a white dress. She frowned and looked in the direction where Wang Kai was and asked softly, "I don't think so. Even if he's lecherous, he won't lose face too much. After all, with his talent and current cultivation strength, there will be many goddesses in the central area who will favor him." Behind them, Elder Bai held his hands behind his back and shook his head slightly with a smile. "Bai Lao wants me to go and take the initiative to come to him, throw myself into his arms." Bai Yu frowned and said in a displeased tone. In response to this, Elder Bai stroked his beard and smiled. He faintly said, "There are some things that I will not explain too clearly. However, you must clearly think about it. Determine what you want to obtain and how great your desire is. After that, you will clearly understand what you should do." Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Elder Bai fell silent. Bai Yu frowned and fell into deep thought. It had to be said that Elder Bai's words were too profound, causing Bai Yu to fall into a state of deep contemplation. Chapter 1050. Report. In a Xian Instone gambling den, a self-proclaimed dog king is threatening the shopkeeper to hand over all the chaos spirit quenching stones that contain the divine spirit. If he refuses to hand them over, he will destroy the den. This dog demon is extremely powerful. Even a god-ranked gem gambling master would find it difficult to deal with him. Report. In the Xianyang Stone gambling den, the fire Xingyuan spirit of Heavenly Flame City suddenly appeared with an invisible giant in human form. They are looting the stone gambling den. The shopkeeper has been severely injured. Even a god-ranked gem gambling master has been killed. The fire Xingyuan spirit is too powerful. With the sneak attack of the invisible giant, we are no match for him. Suddenly, Bai Yu and Elder Bai, who were in the courtyard, were startled when they heard two urgent reports. They looked at each other and felt extremely shocked. The self-proclaimed Dog King? Don't tell me it was that stupid dog. Bai Yu did not have time to think about the fire Xingyuan spirit. She placed all her attention on the Dog King. The Dog King was closely related to Wang Kai. Even if they had a way to deal with him, they could not do anything to him. After all, if Wang Kai came to punish them, the entire Bai family would be in trouble. It must be him. On the second day of his arrival in the Stone God territory, he sent the Dog King to cause trouble. He also said that he wants the chaos spirit quenching stones that contain the divine spirit. I'm afraid he is hinting at us. Elder Bai stroked his beard and smiled. Whoosh! Upon hearing this, Bai Yu's expression changed slightly. Even though she had made an agreement with Wang Kai to give him half of the divine spirit, he had not done anything for her yet. Was he trying to take advantage of her? Moreover, he was using such a violent method? Did he come to the Bai family's stone gambling dens and rob them? Coincidentally, the stone gambling dens chosen by the Dog King and the fire Xingyuan spirit belonged to the Bai family. They had nothing to do with the number one family, the Sure family. It was no wonder that Elder Bai and Bai Yu would misunderstand their intentions. If they knew that the fire, Xingyuan spirit, and the Dog King were here for a competition, how would they feel? What should we do? Young master, please make a decision. That's right. If we delay any longer, the stone gambling dens will be robbed. The two guards of the stone gambling den cupped their fists and pleaded anxiously. Yes, this matter is indeed a little troublesome. It seems like Wang Kai's target is us. The two gambling dens that he chose belong to the Bai family. Moreover, they are under your management. Elder Bai nodded his head as he smiled faintly. Bai was infuriated by this. Why couldn't he have chosen another gambling den? Why did he have to pick the Bai family's stone gambling den? Even if it was the Bai family's stone gambling den, why did he have to pick the stone gambling den that she was in charge of? Wasn't he looking for trouble for her? If Wang Kai could deal with the higher-ups of the Bai family, it would be fine. But he had yet to deal with the Bai family. And now he was giving the higher-ups of the Bai family a reason to deal with her? Bai Yu was even more furious when she thought of this. But Wang Kai was not to be trifled with. She had to work with him and use his power to deal with the Bai family. No matter how angry she was, she could only endure it. How do you think we should resolve this, Elder Bai? Bai Yu frowned and asked softly. Elder Bai stroked his beard and thought for a while. Then, he shook his head and smiled. I'm afraid we can only go along with them. Otherwise, Wang Kai has every reason to take away all the holy spirits from the Bai family, and he won't care if you live or die. When the two guards heard this, they were confused. They did not know what Bai Yu and Elder Bai were talking about, and they did not know who Wang Kai was. However, they could tell that this person called Wang Kai made them very wary. Moreover, both Elder Bai and Bai Yu needed his help. If I give him all the holy spirits, the two stone gambling dens that I am in charge of will be in deficit. If he doesn't help me, then Bai Yu pursed her lips and said worriedly. On one hand, she was afraid that Wang Kai would find an excuse to deal with the Bai family. On the other hand, she was afraid that Wang Kai would not help her. At this moment, Bai Yu was very hesitant and had a lot of emotions. Elder Bai also frowned in response to this. He also felt a headache coming on. Wang Kai's personality was too unpredictable. He could turn hostile at any time, and he could help her wholeheartedly at any time. This is the only thing we can do now. Let's go along with him and follow the Dog King to meet Wang Kai. Let's see what he wants. If he doesn't agree, we don't have to go back to the Bai family, Elder Bai said after thinking for a while. Bai Yu gritted her teeth. Indeed, if she went along with Wang Kai and gave all the chaos spirit quenching stones that contain the Holy Spirit to the Dog King, the Bai family would be furious. They would use this opportunity to get rid of her, the so-called bastard child. If that happened, she would never return to the Bai family. But if Wang Kai was happy at that time and agreed to help him, in short, it was a mixed blessing. In the end, she still had to find a way to please Wang Kai. Do I really have to throw myself into his arms? Bai Yu furrowed her brows and shook her head with a dejected expression. Reporting to the young master and Elder Bai, the dog demon is not the only one coming. There's also the fire, Xingyuan spirit, and an invisible giant. The two guards saw that Bai Yu and Elder Bai were focusing on Wang Kai and the Dog King and immediately reminded them helplessly. The fire, Xingyuan spirit? The invisible giant? Whoosh! It was only now that Bai Yu and Elder Bai reacted. They were just thinking about how to negotiate with Wang Kai. Now, they only heard clearly that the fire Xingyuan spirit was coming. The fire Xingyuan spirit of Skyfire City should be where Wang Kai is now. Could it be that he has become Wang Kai's subordinate? How is this possible? Bai Yu was more shocked the more she thought about it. The fire Xingyuan spirit had the strength of a peak 9th grade ancient sage. Even if the gemstone gambling masters could deal with him, there were only 1 or 2 people in the divine stone realm who could contend with him. Moreover, he could lose his life at any time. They did not have complete confidence in suppressing the fire Xingyuan spirit. Therefore, no one would dare to interfere, no matter how much trouble the fire Xingyuan spirit caused in the divine stone realm. Now, he actually took the initiative to cause trouble. It seems that Wang Kai's cultivation has increased again. Even the fire Xingyuan spirit, a peak 9th grade ancient sage, is being ordered around by him. Bai Yu, You should really think about it carefully. Elderby shook his head slightly and sighed. In his heart, he already had an extremely high opinion of Wang Kai. Regarding this, Bai Yu also frowned. It had to be said that if Wang Kai really took the fire Xingyuan spirit as his subordinate, then his strength would be enough to deal with the Bai family easily. Whatever he wanted, it would be easy for him to obtain. However, the price she had to pay was not low. Chapter 1051 Divine Stone Realm, Wanshi City. It was located at the edge of the city center, between the Xianying Gambling Den and the Xianyang Gambling Denver. The Dog King, the Fire Xingyuan Spirit, and the Invisible Giant were surrounded by a group of people. It looked like they were being ganged up on, but in reality, most of the people were there to watch. Moreover, the shopkeepers of the two gambling dens were heavily injured on the ground. They were being protected by the guards of the gambling dens as they fought the Dog King and the Fire Xingyuan Spirit. Senior Dog, I'm just the temporary shopkeeper of the gambling den. I really don't have the right to give you the Chaos Spirit quenching stones that contain the Divine Spirit. If I do that, I'll lose my life. I hope Senior Dog can make an exception for me. A man in his 30s cupped his fists and explained with a sorrowful look on his face. His clothes were in tatters, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. On the side, there was also a middle-aged man in his 40s. His face was also bruised and swollen. He looked flustered and helpless as he repeatedly said, Senior Fire, Saint Yuan Ling, please be magnanimous. I will lose my life. Woof, woof, woof. Cut the crap. Quickly hand over all the Chaos Spirit quenching stones that contain the Divine Spirit. Otherwise, the Prince of Dogs will destroy your gambling den. The Dog King shook his head and snorted arrogantly. If you give me the Divine Spirit, you'll lose your life, right? Do you think you'll be fine if you don't give me the Divine Spirit? Do you think I'm merciful and won't kill you? The Fire Xingyuan Spirit snorted disdainfully. Whoosh! Faced with the Dog King and the Fire Xingyuan Spirit's replies, the two shopkeepers were even more terrified. They looked at each other and could not help but sympathize with each other. When the surrounding crowd saw this scene, their mouths twitched and their faces were filled with embarrassment. Indeed, it was too difficult to be the two shopkeepers. If it was in the past, which of these two shopkeepers wasn't very glorious? Although he was only at the periphery of the central district, as the shopkeeper of the Bai clan's stone gambling den, his status and authority were terrifying. In the past, they were high and mighty. Today, they were bullied by a dog and a holy spirit to such a miserable state. One could imagine how they felt. Senior Dog King, could you please wait for a moment? The guard has already gone to report. The young lady will be here soon. At that time, you could discuss it. How about it? The middle-aged shopkeeper narrowed his eyes and said with a flattering smile. To the side, the eyes of the manager in his 30s flickered as he brought his fists together and said with a smile, Not bad. Not bad at all. Young mistress will be here soon. With her around, with her in charge, everything will be fine. Woof, woof, woof. Shut up. How many holy spirits could the Prince of Dogs obtain in a matter of minutes? Would they still be waiting for you here? Hurry up and hand over all the Chaos Spirit quenching stones that contain holy spirits. The Dog King wagged his tail impatiently. As he spoke, he bared his teeth at the shopkeeper. The middle-aged shopkeeper was so frightened that his face turned pale. He had no choice but to look pleadingly at one of the god-level gemstone gambling masters. At the same time, the shopkeeper beside the Fire Xingyuan Spirit did the same. However, the two god-level gem gamblers from the gambling den turned their heads away. They had no intention of dealing with them. It was not that they didn't want to, but that they didn't dare to. If there was only one Dog King, an immortal spirit of heaven and earth, they were confident that they could deal with him. Even if they couldn't capture the Dog King, they could at least chase him away. Unfortunately, the Fire Xingyuan Spirit was present as well. Against the Fire Xingyuan Spirit, they knew that they were no match for it. If they forced the Dog King and the Fire Xingyuan Spirit to join forces, the consequences would be disastrous. Stupid dog, it's really you. Suddenly, following a delicate and angry rebuke, the crowd opened up a path with a frightened expression. Under the Dog King's shocked gaze, Bayou slowly walked over with Elder Bai and 2 guards who had gone to report to them. F***CK. Why is it this be *TCH? The Dog King's eyes narrowed. He wasn't afraid of the god-level gemstone gambling masters, but that didn't mean that he wasn't afraid of Bayou. After all, the power sealed in Bayou's body was not as simple as that of a god-level gemstone gambling master. Fire Xingyuan spirit, why aren't you outside Sky Flame City? What are you doing here in Wancher City? Even if you want a holy spirit, you can't possibly choose the Bai family's gemstone gambling den, right? Bayou frowned and snorted in displeasure. The Bai family's gemstone gambling den, whoosh. The Fire Xingyuan spirit leaped to its feet. It had chosen the edge of the central district to look for a gemstone gambling den to avoid the number 1 family, the Sure family, and the number 2 family, the Bai family. But who would have thought that it would meet someone from the Bai family here? It wasn't that the Fire Xingyuan spirit was afraid of the Bai family or the Sure family. It was just that it wouldn't be easy to get a lot of holy spirits from these 2 families. After all, there were gemstone gambling masters above the god level in both families. Dog King, do you know her? The Fire Xingyuan spirit ignored Bayou and looked at the equally nervous Dog King. The Dog King pursed his lips and said speechlessly, "Of course I know her. She is Master's little lover." Master's little lover. The Fire Xingyuan spirit was even more shocked when it heard this. If it didn't want to offend the Bai family earlier, it was even more so now. After all, it hadn't transformed into a woman yet. If it angered Wang Kai's little lover, wouldn't its previous plan be ruined? Who is Wang Kai's little lover? Stupid dog, shut up. Bayou immediately flew into a rage. Her pretty face turned frosty as she angrily reprimanded. This was especially so when she saw that the surrounding spectators were looking at her with strange gazes. She immediately felt even more embarrassed. She even wanted to kill the Dog King. You said you're not, right? Then I'll go back and tell Master. Also, do these 2 gemstone gambling dens belong to you? The Dog King wagged his tail and asked calmly. Whoosh. Bayou was stunned when she heard the Dog King's provocative words. For some reason, she started to panic. If the Dog King really messed with her secretly and caused her relationship with Wang Kai to become even more strained, then how could she cooperate with him? If they couldn't cooperate, where's Wang Kai now? Is he here? Bayou frowned and asked in a low voice. When she came out, she realized that the tracking function of the token had disappeared. It also proved that Wang Kai had shattered the badge that he had given him. Of course Master won't come here personally. He sent the Prince of Dogs here to take some things. How about it? Are you going to give it to him or not? The Dog King grinned and rolled his eyes as he chuckled. Chapter 1052. What do you want? A chaos spirit quenching stone that contains a holy spirit? Are the 2 of you together? Bayou frowned and asked calmly. Although the Fire Xingyuan spirit and the Dog King knew each other, which proved that they were Wang Kai's subordinates, Bayou still wanted to confirm it. If Wang Kai was so terrifying that even the Fire Xingyuan spirit was afraid of him, then she should really think twice. That's right. The Prince of Dogs is not with him. The Prince of Dogs, who has always been awesome, has never met such a thing that is neither human nor ghost. The Dog King snorted disdainfully. Whoosh! Hearing this, the Fire Xingyuan spirit was instantly enraged and replied in an extremely unfriendly tone. This saint has never met such a thing that is not human either. What dog? Looking at it is disgusting, and listening to its voice makes my stomach turn. Woof, woof, woof. F***CK, what a dog. You're right. The Prince of Dogs thinks that dogs should look like dogs. Why? Are you unhappy? Or are you envious? The Dog King wagged his tail and laughed proudly. Bastard dog, do you want to die? This saint will destroy you in minutes. The Fire Xingyuan spirit roared angrily. Do you think the Prince of Dogs is afraid of you? But don't forget why we are here. Don't make Master unhappy when the time comes. When we get back, I will definitely teach you a lesson. When we get back, when that time comes, the Prince of Dogs will be the boss, and you will only be the 2nd or 3rd boss. Do you dare to touch the Prince of Dogs? Are you a pretentious prick? Good Good, good, good. If that really happens, I will snatch away all of your holy spirits before you return. Moreover, I will give you a good thrashing. I will make you beg for death. Whoosh! As soon as the flaming Xingyuan spirit finished speaking, the Dog King trembled in fear. It had to be said that such threatening words were simply too intimidating. Fortunately, the fire Xingyuan spirit had mentioned it in advance. Otherwise, when the time came, he would not be prepared at all and would really be robbed by him halfway. At that time, he wouldn't even have a King place to cry. This won't do. Looks like the Prince of Dogs can't be too strong. He has to be a little weaker. I have to make sure that he doesn't get suspicious. When we return to Skyfire City, everything will be decided by the Prince of Dogs. The Dog King grinned sinisterly. Seeing this scene, the fire Xingyuan spirit at the side also suddenly became alert. That's not right. Looking at him, he's definitely secretly plotting something. Is he trying to frame this saint? From now on, this saint will learn to be polite and not let him get suspicious. When we return to Skyfire City and successfully win, then, the fire Xingyuan spirit thought to himself, how many holy spirits do you want? What did Wang Kai tell you to do? At the same time, Baiyu had already seen that they were Wang Kai's subordinates. She stopped probing and believed that Wang Kai's cultivation was indeed getting stronger. Of course, the more the better. The Prince of Dogs wants everything in this gambling den. The Dog King raised his head and said calmly, this saint wants everything in this gambling den. The fire Xingyuan spirit also raised his head and said softly, Xian Yin and Xian Yang. These two gambling dens were under Baiyu's jurisdiction. None of them could escape. Regarding this, not only were the surrounding people speechless, but even Baiyu herself was secretly furious. The Dog King and the fire Xingyuan spirit had obviously come to take advantage of her, but they did not mention that Wang Kai did not tell her anything else. If Wang Kai had already told them that they would cooperate with her after giving her the holy spirits, Baiyu would not have hesitated. But now, how could she give them the holy spirits? Once she gave them the holy spirits and did not promise to cooperate with them, wouldn't she be shooting herself in the foot? I've already prepared the holy spirits. Take me to see Wang Kai. It's not good to stay here any longer, Baiyu said calmly through telepathy. She did not speak directly, but chose to send a telepathic message secretly. Regarding this, regardless of whether it was the fire Xingyuan spirit or the Dog King, they were all very surprised. Are you afraid that if you give us the holy spirits, the Bai family will cause trouble for you? So you want to leave this place quickly and trade somewhere else? The Dog King asked in a low voice. At the same time, the fire Xingyuan spirit sent a similar telepathic message. That's right. Furthermore, you won't receive the holy spirits directly. You will have to wait until you see Wang Kai before I can give you the holy spirits. As for who and how much to give, it will depend on your performance along the way. Baiyu blinked her beautiful eyes and smiled. Whoosh! Hearing this telepathic message, the Dog King and the fire Xingyuan spirit were extremely disdainful. They thought to themselves that once they were out of Sky Flame City, would they still need to please a little girl? Even though the Dog King was very clear that the power sealed in Baiyu's body was very strong, as long as she did not break the seal, there was no need to be afraid of her. Furthermore, the fire Xingyuan spirit was here. Could it be that the power sealed in Baiyu's body could even suppress the fire Xingyuan spirit? If that was the case, Baiyu would not be so miserable in the Bai family. Even if she took out some holy spirits, she would still end up running for her life. Based on this, one could see that Baiyu's position in the Bai family was not very high. All right, the Prince of Dogs agrees. Let's go. The Dog King said calmly through telepathic messages. At the same time, the fire Xingyuan spirit also agreed through telepathic messages. Men, come and fix the mysterious Yin and mysterious Yang gambling dens. I have some matters to attend to and have to leave for a while. Baiyu said calmly. Yes, young mistress. Then, under the orders of the guards, Baiyu followed the Dog King, the fire Xingyuan spirit, the invisible giant, and elder Bai out of Wanshur City. Everyone was confused when they saw this. They did not understand how Baiyu managed to convince the Dog King and the Fire Xingyuan spirit to leave. Earlier, they were clearly going to cause trouble. Now, they were leaving together? What was going on? Ah, I know. They're going to leave the city for a fight. That's right. Otherwise, why would they choose to leave? Let's go and take a look. Young Mistress Baiyu's cultivation realm should not be high. The Fire Xingyuan spirit is a peak level 9 ancient sage. Would young Mistress Bai be so stupid to start a fight with him? A bunch of idiots. When the people who were about to leave heard this, they stopped in their tracks. Indeed, if Baiyu really started a fight with the Fire Xingyuan spirit, there would be something wrong with her brain. Let's go take a look. What if young Mistress Bai has made some special preparations? That's right. It's better to take a look than to make wild guesses. I have not seen the Fire Xingyuan spirit move hand before. Chapter 1053. Sky Fire City. Wang Kai sat in front of the stone table in the courtyard. Ishu was beside him, serving him tea in an extremely gentle manner. Even a sip of tea had to be served by Ishu personally. Wang Kai was very pleased. TSK, this Dog King and the Fire Xingyuan spirit are quite interesting. They didn't get a single holy spirit, and instead, they got together with Baiyu. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled indifferently. He had just used the torch dragon's eye to see everything that had happened in the distant Wanchu city. Although he didn't know what Baiyu and the Dog King had secretly discussed, based on what he had seen so far, it was very likely that they had reached a consensus. They were rushing towards Sky Fire City together. Baiyu? That damned woman? Where is she? Upon hearing this, Ishu immediately frowned and blinked her beautiful eyes. Her eyes were filled with anger. She knew very well that Wang Kai had always wanted something to happen between him and Baiyu. Coincidentally, Baiyu also had something to ask of Wang Kai. Although she didn't agree to some of Wang Kai's requests previously, she was now with the Dog King and the Fire Xingyuan spirit. Her intentions were self-evident. Oh, she's rushing towards us. Don't worry, Ben Xiao said that he only loves you. How could he casually do something dirty with other women? You're insulting Ben Xiao's integrity. Wang Kai frowned and said with a displeased expression, Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. What? Are they rushing here? Are you telling the truth? Whoosh! Hearing this, Ishu's expression changed drastically, as if she was facing a great enemy. She almost flew into a rage on the spot, and even the teapot in her hand was slammed onto the table. In this regard, Wang Kai couldn't help but grin. It seemed that his bragging was in vain. He was completely ignored by Ishu. What she cared about was Baiyu's arrival. Of course it's true. No, they've stopped. Are they going to fight? Wang Kai frowned and was stunned. He hurriedly focused and looked into the distance with the illumination dragon's eye. At the same time, the Dog King and the Fire Xingyuan spirit, who had rushed halfway, simultaneously blocked Baiyu and Elder Bai. The invisible giant grinned and said, Hurry up and take out the holy spirit and give it to the prettiest sister in the world. Beautiful elder sister? Who? Baiyu was stunned when she heard this. Her beautiful eyes stared blankly at the invisible giant. She thought to herself, Is there another girl here other than me? Bastard, I'm here. Hurry up and hand over the Holy Spirit. Otherwise, I'll give you the death penalty. The Fire Xingyuan spirit scolded angrily in a cold voice. You, beauty? Baiyu was stunned. She looked at the Fire Xingyuan spirit in disbelief. She never thought that the beauty that the invisible giant was referring to would be her. This was too unbelievable, wasn't it? Although Baiyu knew very well that the Holy Spirit could choose its gender after taking human form, it was too difficult to see the Fire Xingyuan spirit as a girl with its personality. Don't bother about him. He's just an idiot. Hurry up and hand over the Holy Spirit to the Prince of Dogs. The Dog King wagged his tail and said impatiently, Stupid dog, how dare you insult me? Do you really think that I won't teach you a lesson? The Fire Xingyuan spirit scolded sternly. Whoosh! The Dog King pretended not to hear this. It was not worth angering him now. Once he got the Holy Spirit, he would naturally have other ways to deal with him. Holy Spirit? I did bring a lot, but I'll only take them out after I see Wong Kai. Bai Yu smiled faintly. Do you believe that the Prince of Dogs will strip you naked right now and check you thoroughly? The Dog King glared at her and snorted disdainfully. Whoosh! Bai Yu immediately furrowed her brows when she heard this. She looked at him coldly and said indifferently, I have an agreement with your master. Who knows? I might even become your master. Isn't it inappropriate for you to speak to me like this? You. The Dog King was stunned when he heard this. He never thought that she would use such words to deal with him. Moreover, he really fell for this trick. Just like Ishu, the Dog King did not dare to provoke anyone who had some sort of relationship with Wong Kai. Once he started a feud, it would be uncontrollable in the future. You want to be the mistress? Humph. It seems that not only do you want to leave the Holy Spirit behind, you also want to leave your life here. Oh, right. Why don't I force the Dog King to ravage you, then kill the two of you? I'll bring your naked corpses for my master to see. The Fire Xingyuan's spirit laughed coldly. Whoosh! When this was said, both the Dog King and Bai Yu were shocked. No one could have expected that the Fire Xingyuan spirit would have such a vicious idea. They had completely misjudged it before. In reality, the Fire Xingyuan spirit was a holy spirit that would do anything to achieve its goals. It's not good for you to do this, right? If my master finds out the truth, we'll all die. The invisible giant scratched its head and said in a low voice, Shut up. What are you afraid of with this Holy Spirit helping you? As long as you take care of them, you'll be Wong Kai's #1. When this Holy Spirit successfully takes down my master, I'll continue to protect you. The Fire Xingyuan spirit said calmly. Whoosh! Hearing this, the invisible giant opened its mouth to say something, but it was frightened by the sudden increase in temperature and shut its mouth. It had to be said that the invisible giant was most afraid of fire. Are you serious? The Dog King snorted coldly and bared its teeth. Whoosh! At the same time, Bai Yu raised her slender hand and placed it on her chest. Layers of blue light slowly flickered. The Fire Xingyuan spirit's words had already made her feel threatened. It was an extremely strong sense of danger. If she did not release the seal, not only would she lose her life, but her reputation would also be ruined by a dog. If that was the case, Bai Yu would rather commit suicide. Moreover, she would rather die by self-destructing her body. There's no need to release the seal. He's just trying to scare us. He doesn't have the guts. You have to know that everything that happens here will not escape my master's eyes. The Dog King grinned and said disdainfully, if the Fire Saint's origin spirit was really trying to intimidate them, and Bai Yu had undone the seal, they could fight it out. However, the Dog King could not deal with either of them. So what if my master sees? After I transform, I'll definitely become the most beautiful woman in the world. When that time comes, my master will dote on me. Why would he blame me? The Fire Xingyuan spirit smiled confidently. Chapter 1054. Why are you so good at bragging? Would master still want you if he knew how treacherous you are? No matter how beautiful you become, you're still just a bag of skin. At most, you can make master happy for a night. Don't try to show off. The Dog King snorted disdainfully. Whoosh! The Fire Xingyuan spirit was enraged when it heard that. However, its anger disappeared when it heard the last part. So what? As long as I can have fun with master for a night, I'm satisfied. Unlike you, you have to listen to master and Ishu's lovey-dovey noises every day. You're holding it in like an idiot. The Fire Xingyuan spirit laughed disdainfully. F***CK. You're so good at licking. The Dog King was shocked when it heard that. It never thought that the Fire Xingyuan spirit would say something so shameless when it knew that its master was secretly observing everything. It was obviously trying to please its master. Shut up. Give me all the chaos spirit quenching stones that contain the Holy Spirit. Otherwise, I've already told you what will happen. The Fire Xingyuan spirit said coldly. Whoosh! Bai Yu frowned when she heard that. With the Fire Xingyuan spirit blocking the way, even if she released the seal, the only thing she could do was escape. Moreover, The probability of her escaping was only 50-50. Don't give it to him. Let him try. Humph. The Prince of Dogs can guarantee that once you make a move, Master will appear immediately. At that time, you won't have a good time either. The Dog King snorted casually. He even stood there casually and did not move at all, allowing Hua Sheng's Yuan spirit to attack him. Such a defenseless posture also caused the Fire Saint Origin spirit to be secretly furious. Originally, he wanted to scare them. As long as the Saint Origin spirit was in his hands, he would directly use the ancient Saint Origin spirit to leave. Whether it was the Dog King or Baiyu, it was impossible for them to catch up. But who would have thought that the Dog King would still be able to remain so calm, as if he was not afraid of anything in the world? You see, the Prince of Dogs said that he definitely wouldn't dare to make a move. Otherwise, he would be the one at a disadvantage. The Dog King raised his head proudly and laughed. Baiyu heaved a sigh of relief. At least the truth was as the Dog King had guessed. The flaming Xingyuan spirit did not do anything out of line. What should we do? Let's compete fairly with him. The invisible giant scratched its head and said in a muffled voice, "Shut up. We are now competing fairly. Do you still want to be the boss? Do you want to be suppressed by this stupid dog forever?" The Fire Xingyuan spirit said resentfully. In response, the invisible giant scratched his head, widened his eyes, and glanced at the Dog King. Then, he did not say a word. To the invisible giant, as long as he could be the boss, that was enough. You fence-sitter. Don't let the Prince of Dogs get hold of your weakness. Otherwise, you will definitely be tortured inhumanely. The Dog King threatened with an ominous glint in its eyes. Brother Dog, I was forced to do this. For weaklings like us, we can only listen to the words of the strong. Right, my future mistress? The invisible giant grinned and praised her with a smile. Hearing this, the Dog King trembled with anger. However, the Fire Xingyuan spirit was extremely happy. It had to be said that the invisible giant was simply too smart. He knew what to say. At the very least, the Fire Xingyuan spirit was extremely happy to be praised by him. This sage will say it one last time. Hand over the Holy Spirit. Otherwise, don't blame this sage for being merciless. The Fire Xingyuan spirit said coldly. Buzz. Swoosh. Swoosh. As soon as it finished speaking, the Fire Xingyuan spirit's aura suddenly increased. Furthermore, streaks of blood-red, demonic flames shot out and surrounded the Dog King and Baiyu. Faced with such a situation, the Dog King could not help but swallow his saliva. Baiyu, who was beside him, turned pale. She had wanted to break the seal earlier. Perhaps there was still enough time. However, now that she was surrounded by the Fire Xingyuan spirit's attacks, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to try to break the seal. Damn stupid dog. Didn't you say that he wouldn't attack? Then what is going on now? Do you really want the situation to develop into what he said? Baiyu gritted her teeth and scolded angrily. Swoosh. Hearing this, the Dog King was also very angry. According to his original guess, the Fire Xingyuan spirit should not have dared to attack at all. Yet he still made a move. Looking at the situation, it seemed like he was serious. Did you only realize this now? This stupid dog is just a lecherous dog. He can't wait for this saint to knock you out so that he can enjoy himself. Since he's going to die anyway, which way do you think he'll choose? Fire Saint Yuan Ling said with a playful smile. Whoosh. Hearing this, Baiyu's pretty face turned even uglier. She immediately raised her slender, jade-like hand and pressed it against her chest. Immediately, circles of blue light flickered. At this point, she could only take the risk and break the seal. Otherwise, Baiyu felt disgusted and wanted to vomit just thinking about the consequences. She was extremely terrified. Even if she was at a disadvantage at the hands of Wang Kai, she would not let a dog win. Wang Kai, damn it, since you can see, don't you know to come out and stop the Fire Xingyuan spirit? Don't forget, I can give you 100 pieces of Chaos Spirit Quenching Stone that contains a divine spirit. When she thought of Wang Kai, Baiyu's beautiful eyes immediately widened as she shouted angrily at the void around her. At the same time, in the Fire Sea area, Wang Kai, who was in the Fire Palace, heard this, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. He could not help but touch his nose and laugh casually. Bin Xiao does not have the time to help you. Help who? That be asterisk TCH by you? When Ishu heard this, she immediately frowned, and her tone was filled with coldness. Now that she had sex with Wang Kai, she naturally did not want to see him involved with other women. If she knew what the fire Xingyuan spirit was planning, who knew how he would feel? No, it's the Dog King. That fire Xingyuan spirit is very powerful. It actually stopped the Dog King and Bai Yu halfway. Wang Kai shrugged and casually told Ishu the whole story. Of course, he did not mention that the fire Xingyuan spirit wanted to transform into a woman. Well done. It seems that the fire Xingyuan spirit is indeed loyal. No matter what, we must let the fire Xingyuan spirit win this competition, Ishu said with a smile. In her heart, she could not wait for the fire Xingyuan spirit to successfully kill Bai Yu. Although the Dog King would be in danger, Ishu did not care so much. As long as she could get rid of Bai Yu, who was a potential threat, she was willing to do anything. Forget it. Bin Xiao will not interfere. This is their own competition. The winner and loser will depend on their own standards. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled indifferently. Chapter 1055. Of course you can't do anything. If you do, Bai Yu, that little slut, will definitely crawl into your bed out of gratitude. Ishu laughed coldly. Whoosh. Crawl into my bed? Upon hearing this, Wang Kai's eyebrows twitched. He had to admit that he was looking forward to such a scene. You seem to be looking forward to it. Ishu stared coldly at Wang Kai as she asked coldly. The corners of Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He pretended to be casual as he waved his hand and laughed softly. It's just Bai Yu. Even if she's pretty, she won't be able to enter Ben Xiao's eyes. Do you know that in this world, you're the only woman who can have sex with Ben Xiao? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Whoosh! Ishu's beautiful eyes immediately flickered with extraordinary splendor as his words faded. The anger in her heart instantly disappeared by quite a bit. It must be said that Wang Kai's words were indeed very lethal. It was especially effective on a woman who had just fallen in love. Only you know how to say nice things. Anyway, I don't care. The winner of this battle has to give the fire Xingyuan a spirit. Furthermore, you can't interfere. If that little slut Bai Yu dies, then so be it. Ishu pouted as she spoke in a firm voice. It was as if Wang Kai would be in big trouble if he went against her wishes. In this regard, Wang Kai felt helpless. Women were indeed good, but sometimes they were also very troublesome. What about the Dog King? Don't tell me you want to watch him die too? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said rather speechlessly, Dog King? In response, Ishu immediately expressed her disdain and said indifferently, It's just a stupid dog. However, on account of the fact that he saved my life, you can save his life. Oh, if we protect him, the fire Xingyuan spirit will become the winner of the competition. The Dog King will also have a hard time. At this time, what should we do? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and asked with a smile. Ishu was speechless when she heard this. In the end, she had no choice but to grit her teeth and say, I don't care. When the time comes, I'll protect the Dog King. Anyway, that little b asterisk TCH by you must die. You even want to seduce my man. You're simply courting death. Wang Kai grinned. He had no choice but to not interfere. It was not good to interfere, but it was even worse not to interfere. The only thing he could do now was to remain neutral. Moreover, this competition was proposed by the Dog King and the fire Xingyuan spirit. As for who would lose out in the end, it was up to each of them to bear the consequences. You don't want to hand it over? Then don't blame me for being merciless. Buzz. Suddenly, before Bai Yu could release the seal, the fire Xingyuan spirit had already turned into a ball of fire and fiercely charged towards the Dog King and Bai Yu. F***CK. You're actually serious. Damn it. Hurry up and give the Holy Spirit to him. Don't even mention the fact that you don't have time to release the seal. Even if you do, whether you can escape is another matter altogether. You might even die a horrible death. You'll be ground to the ground by 10 dogs. Seeing this, the Dog King panicked and quickly shouted at Baiyu. 10 dogs. Hearing this, Baiyu's pretty face turned pale. Just the Dog King alone was already unbearable. If there were 10 of them, damn Dog King, you made my 4 symbols so impure. Stop. I'll give you the Holy Spirit. Buzz. Suddenly, Baiyu gritted her teeth and gave up on releasing the seal. She knew very well that before she could release the seal, she would definitely be attacked by the fire Xingyuan spirit. By then, even if she wanted to regret it, it would be too late. Buzz. Indeed, after Baiyu's shout, the fire Xingyuan spirit immediately dispersed the flames and formed an arm. It opened its palm and said calmly, "Give it to me. 100, not one less." How many? 100? I don't have that many. Hearing this, Baiyu frowned and her red lips moved. Stop lying to me. You've already shouted that you can give Master 100 pieces of Chaos Spirit Tempering Stones that contain the Holy Spirit. Are you trying to go back on your word now? The fire Xingyuan spirit snorted unhappily. I was lying to him. If I didn't say so much, would he have come out to stop you? Damn Wang Kai. I've already said so much, but he really didn't come out. At the end of her sentence, Baiyu secretly hated Wang Kai. If Wang Kai had come out to save her, she wouldn't have ended up like this. Then how many do you have? The fire Xingyuan spirit asked calmly. I have. Wait, let's talk in private. Buzz. Before Baiyu could finish speaking, her body was engulfed by the fire Xingyuan spirit's flames. Of course, it was the Dog King who was next to her. After all, there was a time limit to their duel. If the Dog King found out how many holy spirits Baiyu had, he would have to go to other places to get more holy spirits. Wouldn't that be a waste of time? In response, the Dog King bared his teeth to express his disdain and annoyance. Big guy, you've disappointed the Prince of Dogs. Don't call the Prince of Dogs Brother Dog anymore. The Prince of Dogs doesn't have a brother like you. Oomph. The Dog King glared at him and snorted disdainfully. Hee, I shouldn't call you Brother Dog anymore. I should call you Brother Dog. You have to call me Brother Giant from now on. The invisible giant scratched his head and laughed proudly. Brother Giant? Woof, woof, woof. The Dog King was enraged when he heard that. He never expected the invisible giant to be so arrogant. Giant, go F***ck yourself. The Dog King cursed coldly. Brother Dog, don't be too presumptuous. When the fire Xingyuan spirit comes out, you'll end up in a miserable state. I might suggest to him that he severely injures you. That way, after the duel, you won't have time to get more holy spirits. The invisible giant chuckled. With one sentence, the Dog King lost his temper. Indeed, if the invisible giant did that, he would lose for sure. There would be no way to salvage the situation. Fine. You win. Brother Giant, right? The Prince of Dogs, I'd like to see how long you can stay as Brother Giant. The Dog King sneered. Of course I'll be able to sit there for a long time. I'll be able to sit there longer than Brother Dog. The invisible giant grinned proudly. The Dog King became even angrier. However, he could only endure and let the invisible giant continue to act tough. You've done well. There are so many holy spirits. You've done well. I've decided to spare your life. Now, Scram, don't go near my master. Otherwise, you'll be dead. Buzz. At the same time, the fire Xingyuan spirit and Baiyu appeared in the fireball. Chapter 1056. Woof, woof, woof. F***ck. Did you really give it to him? How many sacred spirits did you give him? The Dog King glared at the fire Xingyuan and bared his fangs. His ferocious look made it seem as if he wanted to tear the fire Xingyuan spirit apart. Unfortunately, he was not as strong as the fire Xingyuan spirit, so he could only stay angry. Baiyu coldly snorted in response. She cast a very displeased glance at the Dog King. If it wasn't for the fact that he had stopped her from removing the seal, how could she possibly have been forced to hand over the Holy Spirit? As for how many sacred spirits were given, the fire Xingyuan spirit would not agree even if Baiyu wanted to say it. Moreover, Baiyu did not want to talk to the Dog King at all. Stupid dog. Go and think of a way to get the sacred spirits. Hee, this saint has succeeded. It's time for me to go back and see my master. Let's go, big guy. This time, the boss position will be yours. Buzz. As his voice faded, Shang's Yuan spirit unleashed numerous flames that swept up the invisible giant. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared into the horizon. Damn it! The Prince of Dogs will not lose to you. The Dog King was furious. He was so anxious that he paced back and forth on the spot. His eyes were wide open as countless ideas flashed through his mind. Why are you so anxious? I only gave him 100 chaos spirit tempering stones. Suddenly, Baiyu, who had displayed anger earlier, pursed her red lips. Her laughter was extremely moving and her expression was extremely pleased with herself. OF*CK. OF*CK. Hearing this, the Dog King was furious. He bared his teeth and shouted at her, Bullsh*T. 100 chaos spirit tempering stones isn't a lot? How much more do you want to give him? How many are there in the divine stone realm? When it's the Dog King's turn, you won't even give the Prince of Dogs 100 chaos spirit tempering stones. Not even 100 yuan. Black lines appeared on Baiyu's forehead as she glared at the Dog King with disdain. Then, she said indifferently, I just said that it's only 100 pieces of chaos spirit quenching stones. They don't contain holy spirits. Whoosh when the Dog King froze when he heard this. He stared at Baiyu in a daze, then sneered disdainfully. You must have secretly teamed up with the Fire Xingyuan spirit, right? Are you trying to frame the Prince of Dogs? Oomph. Do you think the Prince of Dogs will believe that the Fire Xingyuan spirit can't tell the truth? What kind of joke was this? The Fire Xingyuan spirit was a sacred spirit. How could he not be able to tell whether the Chaos Spirit Tempering Stone contained holy spirits or not? Baiyu wanted to use an ordinary Chaos Spirit Tempering Stone to deceive the Fire Xingyuan spirit. Wasn't that seeking her own death? Therefore, the Dog King believed that Baiyu had secretly teamed up with the Fire Xingyuan spirit to deceive him so that he could easily win. When the time came, the 100 pieces of Chaos Spirit Quenching Stones would definitely contain 100 pieces of Holy Spirits. Then look at this Chaos Spirit Tempering Stone. Does it contain Holy Spirits? Baiyu flipped her slender hand and took out a sky blue stone. The stone was sky blue in color and was the size of a baby's fist. It weighed over 10,000 kilograms. The Dog King didn't want to pay any attention to it, but after glancing at it, it immediately rushed over, opened its mouth, and bit the Chaos Spirit Quenching Stone away. Hee, I didn't expect you to be so smart. You were able to leave behind a Chaos Spirit Tempering Stone that contains holy spirits right under the nose of the Fire Xingyuan spirit. Tell me, how many more are you hiding? Why don't you take them all out? The Dog King grinned. Baiyu was speechless when she heard this. She glared at him in annoyance and said indifferently, Bite the Chaos Spirit Quenching Stone into pieces and see what's inside. Bite it? Are you kidding me? The Prince of Dogs isn't a stone gambling master. He doesn't know how to open stones. If he bites it, the Holy Spirit will definitely be destroyed. The Dog King snorted in displeasure. It's not the Holy Spirit inside. It's just the remains of the Holy Spirit. Baiyu shook her head helplessly and said indifferently, The remains of the Holy Spirit? Hearing this, the Dog King was shocked. He quickly crushed the Chaos Spirit Quenching Stone with his teeth. The Saint Spirit energy contained in the stone was only a small piece of it. The Dog King was dumbfounded. I naturally know that true spirits and holy spirits like you have the ability to sense if the Chaos Spirit Tempering Stone contains holy spirits. However, I also know that you don't know how to open stones. Since that's the case, I'll crush a holy spirit into 100 Chaos Spirit Tempering Stones. Then, I'll be able to deceive you. Baiyu said with her hands behind her back. Swoosh! The Dog King couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. He was starting to admire Baiyu. Indeed, with her method, she would definitely be able to deceive the Fire Xingyuan spirit. The Fire Xingyuan spirit was the same as the Dog King. It didn't know how to open stones. Therefore, as long as it found the Holy Spirit energy inside, it would believe it. It wouldn't casually break open the Chaos Spirit Tempering Stone to verify its authenticity. After all, if it didn't open the Chaos Spirit Tempering Stone, the Holy Spirit inside would definitely be destroyed. As a Holy Spirit, the Fire Xingyuan Spirit would never do such a thing. If that's the case, the 100 Chaos Spirit Tempering Stones you gave the Fire Xingyuan Spirit were all destroyed? The real Holy Spirit is still with you. The Dog King exhaled and wagged his tail happily. Baiyu gently nodded her head in response. Her pretty eyes swept over him in an indifferent manner as she playfully laughed. You've guessed correctly. However, if you want me to help you, you'll need to help me with something. Help my ass. Hurry up and hand over all the Holy Spirits. Otherwise, the Prince of Dogs will make you wish you were dead. The Dog King jumped up and bared his teeth as he threatened. When the truth came to light, the Dog King almost laughed out loud. Wasn't this the so-called heavens helping him? Do you think you can threaten me? Baiyu blinked her beautiful eyes and laughed disdainfully. Whoosh! The Dog King's heart jumped violently when he heard this. Indeed, if Baiyu used the same method to deceive him, what should he do? Did he really have to bite them one by one to verify? What if there really was a Holy Spirit inside? Wouldn't it be a waste if he bit them? Or else, he would just bite a few to verify? But what if these few contained the Holy Spirit, and the rest were all fake? What should he do? Damn it, this is giving the Prince of Dogs a headache. In the end, the Dog King was speechless and hesitant. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't think of a way to satisfy both sides. What do you want the Prince of Dogs to help you with? Tell me, as long as it's not too much, the Prince of Dogs can promise you anything. The Dog King glared. He had no choice but to compromise. Even the Fire Xingyuan Spirit had been deceived. The Dog King didn't have much confidence that he wouldn't be deceived by Baiyu. What I want you to do is very simple. Chapter 1057. Interesting, very interesting. I didn't expect there to be such a trick. Wang Kai couldn't help but grin when he saw everything. He turned the Holy Spirit into scraps and put them into the Chaos Spirit Quenching Stone. He did this to make the Fire Xingyuan Spirit believe him. Even the Dog King didn't notice the trick. How is it? Where's Baiyu? That little b*****. Was she killed by the Fire Xingyuan Spirit? What are you doing there? Ishu frowned and asked anxiously. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled calmly. Baiyu isn't dead, and the Dog King is safe. The Fire Xingyuan Spirit seems to have won, but it has lost, and it will lose very badly. What? What's going on? Quick, tell me. Ishu was shocked. She had hoped that Baiyu would disappear forever, but now she knew that she was fine. The Fire Xingyuan Spirit that she thought highly of would lose very badly? You'll know when they come back. Wouldn't it be boring to say it now? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled calmly. Once Ishu knew that Baiyu was coming, she might cause trouble. After all, for a beauty who took the initiative to throw herself into his arms, Wang Kai had never refused. How could he watch the meat in his mouth fly away? You? Fine. I don't care what happened, and there's no need to know now, but that little b***** Baiyu must die. Even if she doesn't die, she can't appear in front of you, Ishu said with her red lips tightly pursed. Hearing this, Wang Kai was speechless. He couldn't help but spread out his hands and said helplessly, her legs are on her body. Wherever she wants to go, this young master has no right to stop her. What's more, there's so many beautiful women in this world. Can you make this young master not see any of them? Even if Ben Shao agrees, will all the beauties who worship Ben Shao agree? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. You still want something to happen with that little b**** Baiyu, right? Ishu frowned and said in an unfriendly tone. Wang Kai shrugged and said calmly, you have to understand one thing when you're with Ben Shao. You're not a cage. Ben Shao doesn't like to be tied down. Whoosh. As soon as he said this, Ishu's beautiful eyes went blank. She suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of fear. It was only now that she realized how stupid and ignorant she was. For someone like Wang Kai, there must be countless beauties around him. No matter how powerful they were, they couldn't stop him. Besides, it was true that she had sex with him, but she hadn't received any substantial help. If her relationship with Wang Kai fell apart, wouldn't she lose more than she gained? Even so, Ishu still couldn't accept it. She didn't want Wang Kai to have any special relationship with other women. Therefore, right now, Ishu was extremely conflicted and helpless. Wang Kai naturally didn't know what Ishu was thinking. However, he could guess from her expression. Don't worry, Ben Xiao isn't a heartless person, especially when it comes to women. You just need to know when to stop. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a smile. When Ishu heard this, she pursed her red lips and frowned. Even though there were thousands of thoughts in her mind, she didn't know how to express them. Master, I'm back. Buzz. At the same time, the voice of the fire Xingyuan's spirit came from afar. Soon, it appeared in the fire palace with the invisible giant. Oh, how was it? How many holy spirits did you get? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and pretended to be puzzled. Hee, 100 pieces of chaotic spiritual tempering stones that contain holy spirits. This time, I will definitely be the winner. However, I've decided to give the winner's position to the big guy. He will be the first, and the Dog King will be the second. The fire Xingyuan spirit said proudly. The invisible giant scratched its head and laughed foolishly. 100 pieces of chaotic spiritual tempering stones that contain holy spirits. These words shocked Ishu so much that she was a little stunned. She never expected that the fire sage's Yuan spirit will be able to bring back so many sacred spirits in such a short period of time. Wang Kai pretended to be shocked. Although he knew that there wasn't a single holy spirit in the chaotic spiritual tempering stones, he still had to keep up appearances. Master, announce my victory. That stupid dog won't be able to win. There aren't many holy spirits in the stone Xingyuan spirit. With his ability, he won't be able to get more than 100 pieces of holy spirits. The fire Xingyuan spirit said confidently. In response, the invisible giant pretended to nod in a simple and honest manner, still maintaining the silly smile on his face. Seeing this scene, Wang Kaisen was secretly speechless. This invisible giant was indeed very smart. It looked silly on the outside, but in fact, it was pretending to be stupid. It was a pity that even if the invisible giant was smart, it was destined to fail this time. No rush, no rush. Let's wait for a while. We'll make a decision after the Dog King returns. Wang Kai waved his hand and smiled calmly. Master, I'm afraid that stupid dog won't be back for a while. 100 pieces of chaotic spiritual tempering stones that contain holy spirits. If he wants to win, he'll need more than 100 holy spirits. The fire Xingyuan spirit smiled confidently. Master, I also think that Brother Dog won't succeed. If he succeeds, he'll definitely be crippled before we return. The invisible giant scratched its head and said, Shut up. The fire Xingyuan spirit was shocked when it heard this. It quickly scolded the invisible giant. It did not expect the invisible giant to be so stupid. However, it did not know that the invisible giant had said this on purpose. Wang Kai, who knew that the invisible giant was extremely smart, naturally understood that he was trying to make things difficult for the fire Xingyuan spirit. Moreover, it was done invisibly. Based on the fire Xingyuan spirit's understanding of him, it could not tell that he was doing this on purpose. As for why the invisible giant did this, Wang Kai had no idea. Master, the Prince of Dogs is back. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, there was a burst of laughter. The Dog King stepped on the black fog and rushed over from afar. Beside him, Baiyu and Elderbai followed. The fire Xingyuan spirit expressed its disdain. It glanced coldly at Baiyu and turned its head away. I've already warned her, but she still dares to come. Looks like I'll have to find a chance to. Oof. The fire Xingyuan spirit thought coldly. At the same time, Ishu, who was behind Wang Kai, also had the same thought. When she looked at Baiyu, she revealed a strong hostility. Chapter 1058. All right, since everyone is back, Let's decide the winner. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled calmly. Upon hearing this, the Dog King and the Fire Xingyuan spirit were extremely confident. Both of them believed that they would emerge victorious. All right, the Prince of Dogs doesn't intend to bully you. I'll let you take it out first. Otherwise, you'll feel ashamed of your inferiority when the Prince of Dogs takes it out. Ha ha! The Dog King laughed proudly. He looked like a husky. When he laughed, his expression was so rich that it made people speechless. Shouldn't I be the one to say those words? At the very least, if you take out the sacred spirit first, you can still be happy and entertain yourself. If this sacred spirit takes it out, you won't have the chance to take it out. The sacred fire Yuan Ling said faintly. His tone was filled with ridicule. No, no, no. You should take it out first. Cut the crap. You first. The Prince of Dogs said that I'll let you go first. I'm being modest. Don't be shameless. If you dare to insult me again, I'll beat you up no matter who goes first. Whoosh! As soon as the Fire Xingyuan spirit finished speaking, the Dog King's eyes widened in anger. The scenes of him being beaten up by the Fire Xingyuan spirit surfaced in his mind. In an instant, he was enraged. Woof, woof, woof. Damn you, Fire Xingyuan spirit. Don't you have 100 holy spirits with you? If that's the case, why are you still acting tough? Just take it out. I'm just afraid that you'll take out a useless rock. Ha ha ha. The Dog King couldn't help but laugh at the end of his sentence. Naturally, he knew that the Chaos Spirit quenching stones in the Fire Xingyuan spirit's hands were all useless. They only contained a residue of the holy spirits. How could there be a holy spirit? Useless rock. How dare you say that my Chaos Spirit quenching stones are useless? Oomph. You won't give up until you see death. Forget it. I'll let you regret it for the rest of your life. Wang. Bang, 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 bang. Then, under the control of Fire Saint's Yuan spirit, huge pieces of blue Chaos Spirit tempering stone were all taken out and arranged on the ground, piling up into a small mountain. Upon seeing this, Wang Kai squinted his eyes slightly, as if he was trying to pry into the situation, causing his eyes to flicker with a golden glow. He then turned his gaze toward the Dog King with a smile. Whoosh! Such a scene immediately caused the Hua Shenyuan spirit to be slightly shocked. Wang Kai had clearly checked it just now, so why did he not say a word? Could it really be as the Dog King had said, that it was full of useless rocks? No, they were all sacred spirits. There's no way I'm mistaken. The Hua Shenyuan spirit, who was still worried, secretly took a peek. After confirming that it was a real sacred spirit, he heaved a sigh of relief. Master must want to see how many sacred spirits the Dog King had gathered before making the final judgment. That's right, that's it. The Hua Shenyuan spirit thought to itself proudly. Bang! At the same time, under Wang Kai's gaze, the Dog King casually took out a Chaos Spirit tempering stone. The Prince of Dogs only managed to get his hands on this Chaos Spirit tempering stone, and there's only one sacred spirit in it. However, the winner this time will definitely be the Prince of Dogs. Master, you can announce it now. The Dog King raised his head and grinned confidently. Whoosh! Upon hearing this, the Hua Shenyuan spirit was instantly enraged. He sneered disdainfully. You want to be the winner with just one sacred spirit? Are you out of your mind? I have 100 pieces of Chaos Spirit tempering stones with sacred spirits. 100 pieces? F***CK. So what if it's 1,000 or 10,000 pieces? They're just useless stones that have been toyed with by others. Until now, you still don't know it. If you don't believe me, open one up and see what's inside, idiot. The Dog King mocked. Buzz. At the same time, Wang Kai retracted his gaze from the Dog King's Chaos Spirit tempering stone. He waved his hand and said indifferently, after Benshio's observation, the winner this time will be the Dog King. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 6th grade Great Sage Realm. The winner will be the Dog King. Upon hearing this, the scene fell silent. The Hua Shenyuan spirit and the invisible giant were stunned on the spot. It was as if they were hallucinating. It was clearly a competition between 100 sacred spirits and one sacred spirit. In the end, the 100 sacred spirits lost? What was going on? Ha ha ha. Did you hear that? The Prince of Dogs won. From now on, the Prince of Dogs will be the boss. The Hua Xingyuan spirit, you'll be the second boss. F for the big guy, F*CK, you'll be the third boss. The Dog King laughed proudly. When he mentioned the invisible giant, he suddenly put on a look of disdain. He was already thinking about how to deal with the invisible giant in the future. Scram! The Hua Xingyuan spirit was instantly enraged and scolded unwillingly. It then turned to Wang Kai and said, Master, did you see wrongly? The winner should be me. I have 100 sacred spirits here. The Dog King is right. Among your 100 chaos spirit tempering stones, there isn't a single one that contains a sacred spirit. It's better to say that there are only remnants of the sacred spirit. Open it up and take a look for yourself. Wang Kai waved his hand and interrupted it. Whoosh! Hearing this, the Hua Xingyuan spirit was shocked. After being stunned for a moment, it quickly waved its flames and shattered all the chaos spirit tempering stones. Buzz! However, what drifted out of it was indeed the remains of the Holy Spirit. There was no trace of the sacred spirit at all. Seeing this, the Hua Xingyuan spirit was furious. This time it wasn't aimed at the Dog King, but at Baiyu, who was standing beside the Dog King. It was very clear that it had been deceived by Baiyu. Not only did it embarrass itself in front of Wang Kai, but it also became the second boss. How dare you deceive me? Aren't you afraid of death? The Hua Xingyuan spirit's voice was filled with murderous intent as it reprimanded her. Whoosh! In response, Baiyu maintained a calm expression. She didn't even look at the Hua Xingyuan spirit as she said, When you threaten others, you should be prepared to be cheated. You should know that in this world, karma will always be rewarded. It's not that it's not retribution. It's just that it's not the time yet. I'll kill you. Buzz. Suddenly, the Hua Xingyuan's spirit attacked. It activated its flames and fiercely attacked Baiyu. All right, stop it. She came here to give Bin Xiao a gift. How can you be so rude to her? A loss is a loss. You should know how to be magnanimous. Wang Kai waved his hand and calmly stopped it. Chapter 10:59. But, Master, the Fire Xingyuan spirit, was extremely unwilling to accept this. He wanted to kill Baiyu on the spot, but Wang Kai stopped him, and he had no choice but to stop. Now, his hatred for Baiyu had surpassed that of the Dog King. Why do you care about her? Humph! Ishu, who was standing at the side, was also extremely displeased. When she saw the Fire Xingyuan spirit suddenly attacking and wanting to kill Baiyu, she clapped her hands and cheered in her heart. However, before she could succeed, Wang Kai stopped her. He has already said that I am here to give him a gift. Why do you think he cares about my business? Is there need to ask about such a simple matter? Stupid woman. Baiyu curled her lips, and her face was filled with disdain. Swoosh! Hearing this, Ishu was instantly enraged. Her beautiful eyes stared coldly at Baiyu. She flipped her slender hand and took out the sun-shooting bow and sun-shooting arrows. You want to die, don't you? Ishu said coldly. Swoosh! Seeing this, Baiyu was shocked. Naturally, she had heard about the sun-shooting bow and sun-shooting arrows. After all, the Fire Xingyuan spirit had been in the Fire Sea area and constantly took out the sun-shooting arrows. Moreover, when Ishu used them, the power of the sun-shooting bow and sun-shooting arrows had reached an unstoppable level. Baiyu admitted that with her cultivation, she would not be able to withstand one arrow. All right, stop it. The arrow should be aimed at an outsider, not one of our own. Wang Kai shrugged and said helplessly, One of our own? Hearing this, Ishu was even more furious. Just a moment ago, they were outsiders who came to give gifts. Now, they were one of our own. Needless to say, Wang Kai definitely wanted to take Baiyu into his room. Similarly, Baiyu couldn't help but blush slightly when she heard this. She recalled what Wang Kai had said before. If she wanted to cooperate, she had to offer her body first. Wouldn't that mean that they would have to share the same bed as him? For some reason, Bai suddenly had such a thought in her mind, causing her to become even more embarrassed. You seem surprised? Little bitch, Ishu reprimanded coldly. Whoosh! Bai blinked her beautiful eyes when she heard this. Anger rose in her heart as she snorted disdainfully. You speak as if you have some special relationship with Wang Kai. What a shameless woman. You. Ishu pursed her red lips and glared at her furiously. In the end, she could only grit her teeth and sit in Wang Kai's arms. That's right, I am now Wang Kai's wife, the legal wife. What do you do about it? Ishu narrowed her beautiful eyes and sneered disdainfully. Whoosh! Seeing this, Bai frowned slightly, especially when she saw that Wang Kai and the rest didn't refute her. For some reason, she suddenly felt a strong sense of loss in her heart. She didn't need to think to know that something must have happened between Ishu and Wang Kai. This level of intimacy was as if they were very familiar with it. I have brought 108 divine spirits. I can give them all to you. I hope that you can help me take control of the Bai family. If you can destroy the Sure family, everything in the Sure family will belong to you. Bai pursed her red lips and said calmly. Now that things had come to this, she didn't want to continue being entangled in a relationship between Ishu and Wang Kai. If Wang Kai wanted to have her, for his own purposes, he would fulfill his wish. But as for becoming a family, Bai automatically gave up on this idea. She couldn't tolerate sharing a husband with Ishu. Ishu snorted coldly in response to this. She could naturally tell that Bai had retreated in the face of difficulties and had given up on fighting with her for Wang Kai. However, such a situation caused Wang Kai to feel rather helpless. Originally, she was just throwing herself into his arms, but now, her appearance had actually changed. Even if he could still have Bai, he felt that there was a big difference. This made it difficult for Wang Kai to lay his hands on her. It had to be said that plans could never keep up with changes. Take out the 108 divine spirits. Bin Xiao can promise to help you take control of the Bai family. As for the Sure family, Bin Xiao doesn't want to interfere. When Bin Xiao is in the mood, he will deal with them. Wang Kai shrugged and said calmly. No one knew that Wang Kai was doing this to leave some leeway. As long as the Sure family was safe, the Bai family wouldn't be able to become the #1 family in the Divine Stone domain. By then, when Bai took control of the Bai family, the Sure family wouldn't turn a blind eye to it. Sooner or later, Bai would have to ask for his help. Wait for that day to come. Thinking of this, Wang Kai chuckled proudly in his heart. Here are 108 Chaos Spirit quenching stones that contain divine spirits. The last one is with the Dog King. Buzz. Bang, 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 bang. Then, Bai waved her hand, and a total of 107 Chaos Spirit quenching stones appeared in front of Wang Kai. Woof, woof, woof. Where on earth did you hide these saint spirits? The Dog King turned his head and asked in surprise with his eyes wide open. If he had discovered where she hid the divine spirits, he wouldn't have only brought one divine spirit. Until now, the Dog King still couldn't figure out how Bai had managed to hide all the divine spirits without anyone noticing. This is a secret technique of the Bai family. Apart from the great sage realm experts, none of the ancient sages can see through it. In response, Bai said indifferently and didn't give a clear explanation. The Dog King pursed his lips and didn't pursue the matter. Since he had already won, why should he care about such unimportant things? The place you're hiding is indeed very strange, hee. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly, his gaze involuntarily landing on her chest. Whoosh! Sensing Wang Kai's gaze, Bai's heart skipped a beat. She quickly covered her chest with her hands in embarrassment and indignation as she said, The hiding place is the place where the power is sealed. It's not what you think. Ah, you're at the Great Sage Realm? Bai finally regained her senses after she heard his words. Wang Kai was actually able to see where she hid her divine spirit. Didn't this mean that he was at the Eminent Saint stage? No wonder he could make the ancient sage fire Xinyuan's spirit bow down to him. Yes, you just found out about this? I'm not afraid to tell you that the Great Sage Realm is a very weak realm. Ben Xiao's true level is above the Great Sage Realm. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled indifferently. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. A realm above the Great Sage realm? Hearing this, Bayu naturally didn't believe his nonsense. After all, the cultivation of the Great Sage realm was shocking enough. Thank you for reading Dawn Wind Remnants, Piao Hong's tip. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1060. When are we leaving? After coming back to her senses, Bayu had no choice but to accept the truth. The Great Sage was the most powerful person in the Central region. Furthermore, given Wang Kai's age, he was undoubtedly the most powerful person in the Central region. Wouldn't it cause a commotion when he reached the Central region? Leaving? What are we going to do? Wang Kai frowned and pretended to be puzzled as he asked. Bayu was infuriated when she saw the way he pretended to be stupid. I've just given you 108 holy spirits. Have you already forgotten our agreement? Do you know that these divine spirits were exchanged with my life? Bayu said in a deep voice as she stared at Su Mo with her beautiful eyes. She vaguely remembered that she had stolen these divine spirits from her clan and the Sher family. Every time she gathered them together, she had a slim chance of survival. If she had not broken the seal and escaped, she would not have been able to obtain even one divine spirit, let alone more than 100 divine spirits. Now, Wang Kai had started to feign ignorance after receiving the benefits. That's what you want. I have never heard of any agreement. Before Wang Kai could speak, Ishu pursed her red lips and interrupted him with disdain. She could not wait for Wang Kai to go back on his word. Although this was not a good thing, it depended on who he was dealing with. She was naturally happy to deal with Bayu in this way. All right, Bin Xiao was just joking with you. After the fire world is formed, Bin Xiao will follow you to the Bai family in Wanshur City. Wang Kai shrugged and said casually, swoosh. Upon hearing this, Ishu's beautiful eyes narrowed and she glared at Wang Kai with hatred. It's good that you admit it. Bayu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was a joke. Otherwise, she would have suffered a great loss. Moreover, it would be a tragedy that she could not explain. Master, are you really going to help me open up the fire world? The fire, Xingyuan's spirit, who had been sulking all this while, suddenly recovered its mood. Even its tone was filled with pleasant surprise. At first, when they recognized Wang Kai as their master, the condition was to expand the fire world. However, until now, Wang Kai had not implemented it. Now, hearing Wang Kai mention this, the fire Xingyuan spirit was naturally the happiest. Well, there's no time to lose. Let's start now. Tell me, how do you want Bin Xiao to help you? Wang Kai shrugged and asked with an indifferent expression. It's simple. With the special ability of the Great Sage Realm, you can change my fate and turn back time, bringing my cultivation level back to its previous level. At that time, I'll be able to step into the Great Sage Realm, and it'll be much easier to raise the Fire Sea region to the Fire World, said the Fire Xingyuan spirit. Change one's fate. Hearing this, Wang Kai frowned slightly. He had heard about this from his system. Just like the invisible giant, he had forcefully reached the Sage Realm with the help of the real spirit of heaven and earth. However, his aptitude and talent, as well as his future, had stopped moving from then on. If he wanted to recover, the only way was to change his fate. However, he did not expect that the unique ability of the Great Sage Realm, changing one's fate, would be effective on the Holy Spirit. How do I help you change your fate? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and asked in confusion. Hearing this, the crowd was dumbfounded. No one would have thought that Wang Kai, who had already reached the Great Sage Realm, would not even know how to defy the heavens and change one's fate. Could it be that he had reached the Great Sage Realm in a daze? Wasn't this too strange? I don't know either. Back then, I had the opportunity to step into the Great Sage Realm, but in order to open up the fire world, I gave up the opportunity to break through. Therefore, cultivators who have not reached the Great Sage Realm are unable to pry into the mysteries of the Great Sage Realm, said the fire Xingyuan's spirit disappointedly. Originally, he thought that the fire world was destined to be successfully opened up. But who would have thought that Wang Kai actually did not know the method to defy the heavens and change one's fate? The joy that came just now disappeared in an instant and was replaced by endless disappointment. It had to be said that the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Everything would never be as beautiful as imagined. Regarding this, Wang Kai was also slightly embarrassed. He thought that he was in the Great Sage Realm, the peak level of the entire Chaos Realm, but he did not know the power of the Great Sage Realm. If this were to spread, it would indeed be a great embarrassment. Wang Kai could only blame himself for relying solely on the system's ability to break through. He only needed to brag and kill a few people to break through. As for how to cultivate and the special uses and powers of each realm, Wang Kai naturally did not care about them. How to change my fate? Helpless, Wang Kai could only secretly communicate with the system. There was no powerful person in the Great Sage Realm in this place, and even if he wanted to ask for advice, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Only in the central region would there be powerful people in the Great Sage Realm. Unfortunately, this was not the central region. Host, you have to find a way to change your fate yourself. As the system's notification sounded, the corners of Wang Kai's mouth twitched. It had to be said that after the upgrade, the system was completely against him. How about this? You give up on upgrading the Fire Sea region to the Fire Elf first. After Ben Xiao has settled the matter with the Bai family, we will head to the central region together. At that time, there will naturally be someone in the Great Sage Realm who will tell Ben Xiao the way to change his fate. Wang Kai shrugged and said rather calmly. Hearing this, even though the Fire Xingyuan spirit was still disappointed, it had no choice but to do so. Master, do you want me to transfer the Fire Sea region to the central region? The Fire Xingyuan spirit asked softly. Wang Kai nodded gently and looked at the ferocious flames outside. He smiled faintly and said, This is the only way now. Since you can transfer the Fire Sea region to the Stone Divine territory, it shouldn't be difficult to transfer it to the central region, right? If it really doesn't work, you could just wait here for Ben Xiao. When Ben Xiao obtains the way to change his fate in the central region, he will come back to help you expand the Fire Realm. I can do it. Hearing this, the Fire Xingyuan spirit was afraid that this matter would be delayed and quickly agreed. Master, when the time comes, the Prince of Dogs will also need to change his fate. At that time, even if he can't reach the Great Sage Realm, he will be able to reach the peak of the Ancient Sage Realm. The Dog King suddenly said as he wagged his tail. The Dog King will also need to change his fate? The corners of Wang Kai's mouth twitched when he heard this. He didn't expect the ability to change his fate to be so useful. Not only could it help the Fire Xingyuan spirit reach the Great Sage Realm, but could also help the Fire Xingyuan spirit reach the Great Sage Realm. At the same time, it could also help the Dog King, who is a true spirit of heaven and earth, to transform into a holy spirit and reach the Ancient Sage Realm. At that time, if the invisible giant was able to change his fate, what realm would he reach? Above the Sage Realm was the Ancient Sage Realm. At first, he thought that the Ancient Sage Realm was extremely powerful, but now, it could be easily created. The Great Sage Realm is indeed awesome. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed secretly. Chapter 1061. Since we'll put aside the matter of the Fire World for now, why don't we set off for the Wanshur City now? Bai frowned and asked in surprise. Who do you think you are? Do you need to tell Wang Kai what to do? If we don't leave today, we'll leave tomorrow. Ishu's face was cold as she scolded in disdain. She was already very unhappy with Baiyu. Once she had the chance, she would naturally punish her severely. Although this kind of verbal pleasure made Ishu very vexed, Wang Kai had no intention of dealing with her at all. Now, she could only enjoy her mouth. Yes, Ishu is right. We can't leave today. Even if we put aside the matter of the Fire World for now, Ben Xiao will activate all the 108 holy spirits to make a set of mahjong. We can play and kill enemies at the same time. Great, haha. At the end of his speech, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and laughed with satisfaction. Mahjong? Hearing this, everyone was puzzled. None of them had ever heard of mahjong, let alone seen it. However, looking at Wang Kai's excited appearance, everyone could not help but be curious. They want to know what this so-called mahjong was that it could make Wang Kai so excited. There are a total of 136 mahjong tiles, and there are only 108 holy spirits here. Wang Kai's smile suddenly stopped. He frowned and thought for a while. He decided to remove the 7 types of tiles: east, south, west, middle, hair, and white. There were 108 mahjong tiles left, and they could be completed with the 108 holy spirits. Master, are you thinking of using your great sage realm cultivation to forcefully change the original appearance of the holy spirits? The Dog King and the Fire, Shenyuan holy spirits were shocked and asked helplessly. Although they did not know what mahjong tiles were, Wang Kai meant to turn the holy spirits into mahjong tiles. Yes, what's wrong with that? Wang Kai frowned and asked in confusion. It was easy for Wang Kai to use the power of the great sage realm to change the appearance of the holy spirits into a puppet. No, there's nothing wrong with that. The Dog King grinned and said helplessly. The Fire Xingyuan holy spirit did not dare to say anything. As a holy spirit, it did not want to see other holy spirits changed into other appearances. However, its master was Wang Kai. Who could stop a great sage realm master? Even in the central region, he was a top emperor. All right, go back and rest. Tonight, I want to be alone. I'll turn these 108 saint spirits into mahjong tiles. Tomorrow, I'll teach you how to play. Ha ha ha. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai waved his hand and swept the 108 holy spirits into his room. As the door slowly closed, the few people in the courtyard were all speechless. However, Ishu was very happy with Wang Kai's actions. As long as he did not think about how to play by you, it was fine. You better behave tonight. Don't think about sneaking up on Wang Kai, you little bitch. Ishu frowned and warned with her beautiful eyes. Whoosh. When she heard this, Bayu acted as if she did not hear anything. She did not even look at her and left the courtyard with Elder Bai. Dog King, don't think that you could do whatever you want just because you're the boss. Right now, you're not even as strong as this saint. You can vent your anger on this saint when you're strong enough. Otherwise, you'll only get a head-on attack, and each attack will be more vicious than the last. The Fire Xingyuan spirit looked at the eager Dog King and threatened him with disdain. As soon as it finished speaking, the Fire Xingyuan spirit flew up and disappeared from the courtyard. The only ones left were Ishu, who was gritting her teeth in anger, the Dog King, who was grimacing in pain, and the invisible giant, who was trembling and looking at the Dog King in panic. Stupid dog, you're really stupid. Don't you know how to ask Wang Kai to give you the privilege of being the boss? Do you think that you'll be able to control the Fire Xingyuan spirit, who is stronger than you after winning the competition? You're really delusional. So stupid. In her anger, Ishu naturally couldn't stand the Dog King. After all, it was a fact that he was working with Bayu. Regarding this, the Dog King was also very helpless. If it was in the past, he would definitely argue with Ishu for being so arrogant. But now, the Dog King admitted that he didn't have the guts or the ability to do so. Big guy, I heard that you're really awesome now. The Dog King, who had been wronged, could only use the invisible giant as a punching bag. Brother Dog, although I've followed the Fire Xingyuan spirit before, I've always supported you in my heart. Don't hit me. Don't hit my face. Bang, bang, bang. Woof, woof, woof. In an instant, the Dog King hit the invisible giant repeatedly. The invisible giant was beaten until he covered his head and scurried away like a rat, rolling around in the courtyard. He was beaten up terribly. At the same time, in the fire domain, Bayu wasn't completely relieved. Even though Wang Kai had promised to help her, she knew that Wang Kai's character was fickle and he could easily go back on his word. When that time came, she wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Elder Bai, what do you think I should do? If he goes back on his word, then Bayu pursed her red lips and said worriedly. Elder Bai stroked his beard and shook his head. He smiled and said, Old man can't do anything about it. An 18-year-old great sage. Sigh. Do I really have to go and get on his good side? If he gets everything and still refuses to help me in the end? Bayu's face turned pale. The more she thought about it, the more panicked she became. Seeing this, even though Elder Bai wanted to comfort her, he didn't know what to say. She could only blame herself for meeting Wang Kai. Coincidentally, Wang Kai was also an unparalleled genius. He probably has feelings for you in that way. For example, he was vague about the Sher family. He must have planned it long ago. When you ask him for help again, when Elder Bai said this, he slowly closed his mouth and did not say anything else. Bayu's beautiful eyes froze. If she thought about it carefully, if Wang Kai really helped her take control of the Bai family would definitely be suppressed if the Sher family wasn't destroyed. When that time came, she would really have to ask Wang Kai for help again. Does he really plan to do that? Bayu frowned. After thinking for a while, she heaved a sigh of relief. As long as Wang Kai was interested in her, it meant that he would definitely help her take control of the Bai family. As for the hidden danger of the Sher family, Bayu couldn't think that far ahead. Chapter 1062. This is the last one. Hee hee. Buzz. Late at night, Wang Kai's room was still lit by candlelight. On the table, there were rows of mahjong tiles that were transformed from sacred spirits. They were golden in color, and the words were silver. They were the same size as ordinary mahjong tiles. Bang! When the last piece of chaotic spirit quenching stone was broken, the sacred spirit within it was transformed into a mahjong tile by Wang Kai with the power of the great sage. Little chicken. Phew! Wang Kai let out a long breath. Looking at the mahjong tiles on the table, he rubbed his chin and chuckled. 108. The weakest one has the cultivation of an ancient sage. The strongest one has the cultivation of a peak 9th grade ancient sage. It's a pity that there are only 4 of them. His gaze swept across the mahjong tiles and landed on 90,000, 9 branches, 9 tubes, and the last one, little chicken. Among the 108 mahjong tiles, only 4 of them had the cultivation of a peak 9th grade ancient sage. As for the rest, they were all Empyrean sages, ranging from the 1st grade to the 8th grade. Even so, the power of 108 mahjong tiles added together was terrifying. Hee. If anyone is dissatisfied, I'll send Little Chicken to lead the team. 90,000, 9 branches, and 9 tubes will be the support. They will lead 104 mahjong tiles that have the combat power of an ancient sage. Bang! 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 Just as Wang Kai was secretly pleased with himself, there was a soft knock on the door. Who is it? Wang Kai's brows furrowed slightly as he looked at the door with a surprised expression. Following the reflection, he could clearly see that it was the figure of a graceful woman. Bayu? After taking a closer look, Wang Kai realized that it was Bayu. I just brewed some tea. Do you want some? Bayu's trembling voice sounded from outside the room. Although she had deliberately lowered her voice, it was not difficult to tell how flustered she was at that moment. Interesting. She used tea to throw herself into my arms. What a novel method. I didn't expect her to use such a method. Wang Kai grinned and smiled playfully. Buzz. With a wave of his hand, all the mahjong tiles were stored in the system. Wang Kai walked to the door and opened it slowly. You want some? What entered his eyes was Bayu's beautiful face. However, her face was somewhat pale. Her eyes were scattered, and she kept avoiding Wang Kai's gaze. Even the teapot in her hand was shaking slightly, as if the tea would spill out at any moment. What are you afraid of? Isn't it just treating Bencheo's tea? Is it necessary? This young master won't eat you. If you're really afraid, you'd better go back. Wang Kai shrugged and pretended to be indifferent. Swoosh! When she heard this, Bayu's red lips moved and her delicate body stiffened. She seemed to relax, and surprisingly, she was no longer flustered. Bayu lifted her head and blinked her beautiful eyes as she looked at Wang Kai and asked, I'm not afraid. Are you going to drink? Clatter. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly as he slowly extended his hand to touch the teacup. Then, as if by accident, he shifted his hand to Bayu's soft and jade-like hand. With this touch, He could clearly feel Bayu's small hand tremble. Her delicate body also trembled slightly. However, in the end, Bayu did not choose to avoid or resist. Instead, she pursed her red lips and lowered her head. Her beautiful face was slightly red as she stood there quietly. As expected, she's here to throw herself at me. It seems like Bencheo's luck with women is quite good recently. When he saw this, Wang Kai smiled proudly in his heart. He withdrew his hand and picked up the teapot. After pouring a cup of tea, he smiled faintly and said, "Bring it in." Whoosh. When she heard this, Bayu's heart was in her throat. How could she not know Wang Kai's intention of letting her in? When he purposely touched her hand and saw that she did not resist, he wanted to let her in. It must be said that Wang Kai was very calm, but Bayu was also very smart. Since he had already thought of everything before she came, Bayu naturally would not choose to retreat. She gently nodded her head and walked into the room with light steps. Closed the door as well. The wind is strong outside. Bencheo's body is very precious. If he catches a cold, it will not be good. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled casually. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Close the door. Even though Bayu knew what she would experience later, she still grew more and more nervous. This was especially true under Wang Kai's step-by-step guidance. Oh, okay. Bayu tightly pursed her red lips and gently placed the teapot and other things on the table. Then, her movements were extremely slow as she walked to the front of the door. However, just as Wang Kai was about to unleash his wolf technique, he heard a bang. When he raised his head to look, he saw that Bayu was already standing outside the door. The door was also closed by her. What the hell? Why did you go out? Wang Kai was stunned and asked in astonishment. She had not even unbuckled her belt, and she was already gone? I'm still not ready. Sorry. When Bayu's shy voice came from outside, Wang Kai did not react. He heard a series of footsteps getting further and further away. Damn, she ran away after saying that she was not ready? So she's been toying with Ben Xiao all this time? Wang Kai's face darkened as he said speechlessly, "Bang, bang, bang." Suddenly, just as Wang Kai was about to explode in anger, there was a knock on the door again. Damn, now that you want to come back, it won't be so easy. Get Ben Xiao. Ishu. Clack. As the door opened, what entered his sight was not Bayu, but Ishu with a cold and pretty face. Do you feel good after being toyed with? You made me laugh so hard that my teeth fell off. Ishu narrowed her beautiful eyes, her pretty face full of disdain. Clearly, the scene just now had been seen by Ishu from a hidden place. Now, she was here to mock him. The corners of Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He glared at her with a black face, then reached out and carried her horizontally. He snorted coldly and said, "Little girl, if I don't whip you for a day, you will feel itchy all over, right? Since that is the case, you don't have to sleep tonight. Let's have a good practice." What are you doing? No, don't touch me. You hooligan. Ugh. Then Ishu struggled and resisted. In the end, she was moaning softly. The interior of the room also began to sway slightly. It seemed like a slight earthquake had occurred. Was that kind of thing really so scary in the beginning? But later on, it seemed very comfortable. At the same time, Bayu walked out from the darkness. She looked at Wang Kai's room and saw Ishu moaning softly. She pursed her red lips, her beautiful eyes filled with confusion and a trace of fear. Chapter 1063. How is it? Does it feel good to watch and listen? Hee. Suddenly, two low voices rang out. Bayu, who was focused on watching Wang Kai's room, was so shocked that her expression changed slightly. She quickly turned around to look. Woof, woof, woof. What are you afraid of? You don't even know the secret of eavesdropping. It's as if no one knows. The Dog King shook his head and said speechlessly, Brother Dog, you're right. At the side, the invisible giant's face was bruised and swollen. Even one of his arms was wrapped in white cloth. It was obvious that he had been beaten up badly by the Dog King. Humph, after being beaten up, you've learned how to flatter now? Baiyu snorted disdainfully. The invisible giant was furious when he heard that, but he hid it habitually. Instead, he laughed foolishly and said, I'm very happy that Brother Dog beat me up. You really deserve to be beaten up. Regarding this, Baiyu was speechless. Obviously, she had no opinion. The invisible giant was completely beaten up. Previously, he even wanted to team up with the fire Xingyuan spirit to deal with the Dog King. But now, he was beaten into submission by someone else. Did you hear that? He's the follower of the Prince of Dogs. As his big brother, he naturally has the right to beat him up. As for you, you're just eavesdropping. Why are you still pretending to be innocent? The Dog King grinned disdainfully. That's right. You're still asking yourself whether that kind of thing is comfortable or not. TSK. Even my old face blushed when I heard that. The invisible giant added appropriately. You guys, hearing that, Baiyu was so angry that her face turned green. They had caught her red-handed. Now, it was difficult for her to defend herself. What about you? Eavesdropping is eavesdropping. If you want to, you can knock on the door now. Master will be more than happy to let you in. The Dog King grinned. His expression was full of mockery. Seeing this, Baiyu's beautiful eyes suddenly narrowed. How could she not know what the Dog King meant? It had to be said that it was worthy of being Wang Kai's subordinate. This dog was really competent. You can go in. Look at how bored you are. Why don't you and the invisible giant play with each other? Oomph. Stupid dog. Stupid giant. Whoosh. With that, Baiyu glanced at the Dog King's lower body with disdain. After ridiculing it for a while, she left with a smile on her face. This situation immediately angered the Dog King, especially when he realized that his private part was still erect. The invisible giant scratched its head and asked in a daze, Brother Dog, you can tell from a sound? Just from a sound. Hearing that, the Dog King grimaced. It shook its head and tried its best to ease the awkwardness. That's right. This proves that the Prince of Dogs has a good body. Also, this is a very special ability. Normal people can't do it. The invisible giant scratched its head and chuckled. It didn't say much. The reason the Dog King could eavesdrop was because he was too perverted. However, although some things were clear, they definitely couldn't be said out loud. Are we still eavesdropping here? The invisible giant asked in a low voice. What do you mean by eavesdropping? We are helping Master. We are guarding here, okay? What if someone like Baiyu secretly comes here to eavesdrop? When that happens, we will need to take action and subdue them. The Dog King raised its head and listened to the soft moans in the room. At the same time, it gave orders to the invisible giant. The invisible giant was speechless. He obviously wanted to eavesdrop, but he made it sound so righteous. It was as if he was thinking for Master. Okay, I got it. Brother Dog, I'll listen to you. The fire Xingyuan spirit is also here. He is eavesdropping there. What should we do? The invisible giant raised its eyebrows and pointed at a house in the distance. Whoosh. Hearing that, the Dog King's gaze froze. It quickly looked up. When it saw the fire Xingyuan spirit, it sneered and said, Shameless. Are you watching the show again? You must really want to try, right? Unfortunately, you can't transform yet. Brother Dog is right. Well said. The invisible giant scratched its head and laughed in agreement. Big guy, you'll regret it sooner or later. What can you do by following a stupid dog? The fire Xingyuan spirit snorted disdainfully. Whoosh. Hearing that, the invisible giant laughed foolishly without any expression. In its heart, it was thinking that when the fire Xingyuan spirit gained power, it would naturally fall over. As long as the Dog King and the fire Xingyuan spirit both wanted to curry favor with Master, there would be an opportunity. The Prince of Dogs has always known a secret technique that can transform directly. For a powerful holy spirit like you don't need to reach the great sage realm to be able to transform. The Dog King shook its head and suddenly laughed playfully. Whoosh! As soon as it said that, the fire Xingyuan spirit in the distance suddenly jumped, and its flames burned fiercely. Are you telling the truth? Buzz! The fire Xingyuan's spirit jumped and arrived in front of the Dog King. Its temperature was so hot that the Dog King's fur curled up. It was as if it would burn up at any moment. Why are you so agitated? If the Prince of Dogs said that there's a way, then there is definitely a way. It's just that the Prince of Dogs doesn't want to tell you, haha. At the end of his speech, the Dog King had already started laughing loudly. That delightful appearance simply made the Fire Saint Origin spirit extremely angry. Brother Dog, I think that it's not a bad thing to tell him about the transformation technique. As the invisible giant's voice rang out, the Dog King's laughter suddenly stopped. What do you mean? Are you trying to deceive the Prince of Dogs so that you could be a fence-sitter? The Dog King narrowed his eyes and asked suspiciously. The invisible giant didn't seem to care about this at all. He scratched his head and said in a low voice, Brother Dog, you've misunderstood. What I mean is to let him successfully transform. After that, when he transforms into an extremely ugly woman. Hee. Whoosh. Hearing this, the Dog King's eyes lit up. It had to be said that the invisible giant's idea was indeed very ingenious. If that really happened, the Fire Xingyuan spirit wouldn't even be able to stay by his master's side, let alone have a one-night stand with him. All right, don't be angry over there. The Prince of Dogs is very kind and can tell you the secret technique. However, what do you want in exchange? You can't just get the benefits for free, right? The Dog King sneered. I can promise you that after I successfully transform, I won't bully you anymore. The Fire Xingyuan spirit said without hesitation. Whoosh! As soon as it said that, the Dog King's face turned extremely ugly. He wanted to tear the Fire Xingyuan spirit into pieces. Chapter 1064. What's wrong? Could it be that the conditions I offered were not good enough? This is already the most generous offer I can make. Dog King, you should be happy or even rejoice, the Fire Xingyuan spirit said calmly. Whoosh! Faced with such an arrogant Fire Xingyuan spirit, the Dog King was furious. He suddenly began to wonder if the Fire Xingyuan spirit really wanted the secret technique, or was he here to cause trouble? Judging from his tone and words, he didn't seem like he was asking for help at all. Brother Dog, let's agree to it. It's not easy for him either. In order to have a one-night stand with Master, he went through so much trouble. Let's be generous and show him some kindness, the invisible giant said, scratching his head. Be generous. Hearing this, the Dog King grimaced in anger. However, thinking about the invisible giant's previous suggestion, it was indeed a good idea. Even though he was furious now, in order to teach the Fire Xingyuan spirit a lesson, he could only suppress his anger and let it take the bait. All right, will you keep your word? The Dog King said, gritting his teeth and glaring. Regarding this, the Fire Xingyuan spirit was naturally very happy. It immediately said happily, Of course, I always keep my word. Of course, the prerequisite is that you don't provoke me again. There was actually a prerequisite. Hearing this, the Dog King felt very sullen and angry. It was clearly asking for help, but it made it seem like he was begging it not to teach him a lesson. However, thinking about his grand plan with the invisible giant, the Dog King could only endure it. The Prince of Dogs won't bully the weak. No matter what. You came later. We just need to mind our own business. The Dog King shook his head and snorted disdainfully. You speak as if you're very powerful. Hand over the secret technique, the Fire Xingyuan spirit said disdainfully. Woof, woof, woof. The Dog King could no longer hold himself back. Such an arrogant and despotic Fire Xingyuan spirit. Would it become even more arrogant after it transformed? At the same time, she couldn't help but think about what would happen if she caused Fire Xingyuan spirit to fail in its transformation and fail to become the beautiful woman he wanted to become. At that time, how could he stop them? Who was going to stop him? I'm afraid that even Master Wong Kai would deny it, right? After all, he was the one who took the initiative to provoke them. With this in mind, the Dog King hesitated for a moment. After pondering for a moment, he calmly said, I can't give you the secret transformation technique now. You'll have to wait for 3 days. Wait for 3 days? Hearing this, The fire Xinyuan spirit was immediately displeased, especially after seeing the Dog King's expression. It was obvious that he was thinking about something. Now that he suddenly said to wait for 3 days, could it be that he was thinking of some evil scheme again? If you think that the conditions are not good enough, you can tell me. I'll be magnanimous and give you more benefits. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, the fire Xinyuan spirit lowered its tone. In this regard, the Dog King was secretly delighted. After all this trouble, it turned out that the fire Xinyuan spirit was still very afraid of him. Unfortunately, this wasn't a problem that could be solved with a few more benefits. The Dog King had to carefully consider his escape route. If fire Xinyuan spirit failed in its transformation and turned into an extremely ugly woman, what would he do then? He couldn't possibly let the fire Xinyuan spirit chase him all over the streets, right? Even if it was reasonable, he wouldn't be in the right. It's not that the conditions are not good enough, but the Prince of Dogs needs to carefully consider the secret transformation technique. If he thinks wrongly, wouldn't it be harming you? The Prince of Dogs would never do something like this. The Dog King shook his head and said righteously, "Whoosh." However, the more the Dog King said it so nicely, the more the fire Xinyuan spirit secretly doubted it. The Dog King was really too abnormal. Usually, he wouldn't give in to others when he was in the right. Other than being magnanimous in front of his master, Wang Kai, he had always been very selfish towards others. Now, there was actually a time when he would consider for others. There must be a reason for this abnormality. Are you sure you're not thinking of harming me? The fire Xinyuan spirit asked coldly. It would be strange if the Dog King could be trusted. As the saying goes, a dog can't change its habit of eating shit. Nonsense. The Prince of Dogs is taking responsibility for you. Do you understand? If it were anyone else who would care about your life or death, they would have just casually thought about it and told you. The Dog King snorted unhappily. The fire Xinyuan spirit saw that the Dog King had no way to get through. It could only choose to believe him for now. All right, I'll give you 3 days. I'm going back to rest. You stay here and peep, cough, cough, watch the door. The fire Xinyuan spirit knew that it shouldn't offend the Dog King, so it changed its words at the last minute. After it finished speaking, it leaped a few times and disappeared. Brother Dog, why do we have to wait for 3 days? After the fire Xinyuan spirit left, the invisible giant scratched its head and asked in confusion, "What do you know? Think about it carefully. If he finds out that the failure of the transformation was caused by us intentionally, what should we do? Can we live?" The Dog King grimaced and snorted speechlessly. Hearing this, the invisible giant was stunned for a moment. Indeed, he hadn't thought about this problem. It could be said that from the beginning, he wanted to let the Dog King take the blame. But who would have thought that the Dog King would actually realize it now? The invisible giant had originally planned to cause the fire Xinyuan spirit's transformation to fail, then let the fire Xinyuan spirit destroy the Dog King. In that case, he would be the only one left under Wang Kai. It was a pity that things had changed too quickly. With Master around, will he kill you? The invisible giant stared and asked. Even if he had the intention to harm the Dog King and the fire Xinyuan spirit, the invisible giant didn't want any of them to die. His main goal was to make them all lose their power. That's hard to say. No matter what, we were in the wrong first. Master might prioritize justice, the Dog King said after some thought. Master would prioritize justice? Hearing this, the invisible giant was stunned. In the end, even the Dog King was stunned. That's right. When has Master ever been fair? The Dog King said in a daze. That's right. So, Brother Dog, as long as we think of a way to please Master, even if we cause the fire Xinyuan spirit's transformation to fail, we won't be punished. At most, we'll have to apologize to the fire Xinyuan spirit. At worst, Master will think of a way to make the fire Xinyuan spirit. At the end, the invisible giant's expression froze, and he quickly shut his mouth. F***CK. If Master helps the fire Xinyuan spirit transform again, then what's the point of everything we've done? Wouldn't we be angering the fire Xinyuan spirit? The Dog King jumped when he heard this. F***CK. How did I slip up? Seeing that the Dog King had reacted, the invisible giant was speechless. Chapter 1065. He had originally planned to use a scheme within a scheme. Once the Fire Xingyuan spirit failed to transform, the Dog King would definitely receive intense revenge from the Fire Xingyuan spirit. At that time, as long as he poked the Dog King and fawned on his master, Wang Kai, after receiving his forgiveness, his master might really help the Fire Xingyuan spirit transform again. In the end, he could completely change sides and follow the Fire Xingyuan spirit, who had successfully transformed and wanted to win his master's favor. At that time, the Dog King would definitely lose his power. He would definitely be able to take the position of the boss. After all, the Fire Xingyuan spirit only wanted to be his master's woman. It had nothing to do with being a subordinate. What are you thinking about over there? The Dog King glared at the invisible giant and asked. After being tricked by the invisible giant last time, the Dog King was still secretly on his guard. He was afraid that he would be tricked by the invisible giant again. Previously, when he heard his plan to deal with the Fire Xingyuan spirit, the Dog King thought that this kid had finally understood who the boss was. But now, things didn't seem to be as good as he thought. No, I'm just thinking about how we should fawn on Master. Otherwise, if the Fire Xingyuan spirit fails to transform, we'll be finished. The invisible giant scratched his head and laughed awkwardly. At least you still have some conscience. You have to know that if the Prince of Dogs hadn't shown mercy this time, would you still be standing here? Don't be a fence-sitter. The Dog King snorted and warned. Yes, Brother Dog is right. I'll definitely be loyal. The invisible giant didn't care about this, but on the surface, he nodded repeatedly in agreement. Right, we can poke by you and make her quickly throw herself into Master's arms. I'm sure Master will be very happy. The Dog King suddenly grinned and laughed softly. Whoosh! Upon hearing this, the invisible giant was clearly stunned. Indeed, if this method worked, Master would definitely be pleasantly surprised. Good, Brother Dog's idea is really wonderful. But how do we make Baiyu offer herself? The invisible giant asked in a low voice. Can't you think for yourself? If the Prince of Dogs has to do everything himself, what do I need you as my little brother for? The Dog King snorted, speechless. The invisible giant was speechless. He could only shake his head and sigh. It seemed that his guess from the beginning was correct. Although the Dog King had many ideas, they were generally unreliable. The next morning, after a night of fighting, Wang Kai and Yi Shu didn't close their eyes to rest, but they were full of energy. They pushed open the door and went out in high spirits. Yi Shu, who was originally angry, was also extremely happy at this moment. Like a little bird, she stuck close to Wang Kai and refused to let go. However, in the courtyard, the Dog King, who had been eavesdropping the whole night, had dark circles under his eyes. He was suffocating. On the other hand, the invisible giant didn't feel much. It was as if he didn't care about the matters between men and women. Stupid dog, the next time you eavesdrop and discuss bad things, hide it from me. Also, the last method you thought of to please Wang Kai can be cancelled. Do you understand? Ishu walked in front of the Dog King and the invisible giant. She glared at them with her beautiful eyes and snorted with displeasure. Upon hearing this, the Dog King's heart suddenly jumped violently. He didn't expect that Ishu and Wang Kai would pay attention to the matters in the courtyard. Good thing the guy isn't here. The nervous Dog King quickly scanned the surroundings. When he saw that the Fire Xingyuan spirit hadn't heard anything, he secretly sighed in relief. Last night, he was so focused on guarding against the Fire Xingyuan spirit that he didn't think that Wang Kai and Yi Shu would eavesdrop as well. They were supposed to eavesdrop on them, but now they were the ones who were eavesdropping on their plans. No, the Prince of Dogs won't do anything to Baiyu. In the Prince of Dogs' heart, only you are Master's best partner. The Dog King grinned and wagged his tail. He seemed to be trying to curry favor with her. Ishu blinked slightly when she heard this. She snorted with satisfaction and ignored the Dog King. It was fine as long as the Dog King could understand her intentions. Otherwise, if he really succeeded in provoking Bai Yu and offered her body to Wang Kai, then Ishu didn't want to imagine the consequences. Ahem, this method is indeed not very good. Wang Kai shrugged and pretended to be serious. But in the next instant, he secretly transmitted his voice, "Dog King, just do it. When the time comes, Ben Xiao will take the blame for you." Yes, even if Ben Xiao is the fire Xingyuan spirit, he won't do anything to you. He will even give you supreme authority. Whoosh! Hearing this, the Dog King was instantly very excited. He had been thinking about what he would do if Wang Kai was the fire Xingyuan spirit that had failed in its transformation. Now, with Wang Kai's approval, he was going to give him supreme authority. The Dog King was instantly filled with enthusiasm. He couldn't wait to carry out the plan. "Yes, Master. The Prince of Dogs will definitely complete the mission." The Dog King smiled and transmitted his voice secretly. Regarding this, Wang Kai was quite satisfied. He secretly thought that having a few smart subordinates was really a good thing. Even when picking up girls, they would take the initiative to help him. "Master, I can bind a fire world into one at any time. I can go anywhere." Buzz. At the same time, the fire Xingyuan spirit floated over and landed in front of Wang Kai. After reporting, he secretly transmitted his voice to the Dog King. "You've been thinking about it all night?" The Dog King was obviously stunned when he heard the transmission. He quickly reacted and replied in a serious tone, "That's right. Didn't you see the dark circles under the Prince of Dogs' eyes? The Prince of Dogs has really put in a lot of effort for you. Seeing that you've worked so hard, I'll reward you when I've successfully won Master's favor." The fire Xingyuan spirit transmitted his voice in satisfaction. The Dog King grinned. When the time came, it would be fine as long as he didn't want to kill or beat him. As long as he didn't want to reward him, he could forget about it. "Can we set off now?" Following a pleasant voice, Bai Yu slowly walked into the courtyard with Elder Bai. Bai Yu acted as if nothing had happened last night. Her expression remained the same as usual. Even when she met the gazes of Wang Kai and Ishu, she was extremely calm. This little girl is quite good at pretending. Hee, but Ben Xiao likes this kind of girl. The more pretentious a woman is, the more open she is in bed. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and laughed secretly. "Well, fire Xingyuan spirit, go bind a fire world into one. After we've dealt with the Bai family in the Stone God territory, we'll head to the central region in a few days," Wang Kai said calmly with his hands behind his back. Chapter 1066. Bai Yu furrowed her brows when she heard this. Her red lips turned pale, and her body trembled uncontrollably. "Don't push your luck. Otherwise, I won't be able to hold myself back and will beat your father to death." Just as Bai Yu was about to speak, the fire Xingyuan spirit suddenly spoke. Its tone was filled with murderous intent. The fire Xingyuan spirit had always wanted to have a one-night stand with Wang Kai. Naturally, it could not tolerate anyone humiliating Wang Kai. It would not show mercy to anyone who wanted to kill Wang Kai. When Bai Yu saw this, she slowly closed her eyes and turned around. She knew that this was the biggest concession that Wang Kai could make. If she continued to push her luck, she might not be able to take control of the Bai family. Even if it was Bai Fei, he would definitely be killed. "Did you hear that? You're lucky to be able to keep your life." Swoosh. When the Dog King finished speaking, it immediately flipped its claws and cut off Bai Fei's tongue. Bai Fei flew into the air and his arms were neatly cut off. The intense pain caused Bai Fei to scream and roll on the ground. In the end, he could no longer endure the pain. His body twitched and he fainted on the spot. F***CK. How dare you offend Master with such a weak backbone? It would be better for you to die than to keep your life. When the Dog King saw this, it snorted disdainfully. It shook off the blood on its claws and returned to Wang Kai's side. Wang Kai did not even look at it. He shrugged and said indifferently, "Let's go to the Bai family and settle this quickly. Ben Xiao still has other matters to attend to." When his words fell, Ishu, the Dog King, the fire Xingyuan spirit, and the invisible giant followed Wang Kai into the city. Elder Bai, bring him into the city and find a doctor to treat him. Bai Yu pursed her red lips and said in a trembling voice. Even though she hated Bai Fei, she could not bear to see him in such a miserable state. It was as if a string had been pulled. Only now did Bai Yu realize that no matter how much she hated Bai Fei, she did not feel happy when Bai Fei received his punishment. Instead, she felt an inexplicable sense of loss. You should quickly follow them. Although your mother does not come from a good family, she loves your father very much. Even though her status in the Bai family is lower than that of a servant, she is still infatuated with your father. If she learns that Wang Kai crippled Bai Fei, I'm afraid. Elder Bai shook his head and sighed. Immediately, he stepped forward and lifted the unconscious Bai Fei with his large hand, after which he brought the unconscious Bai Fei into the empty space and brought him into the city. The current elder Bai was already afraid of Wang Kai. Even when he brought Wang Kai to treat his injuries, he chose to hide in the void and enter the city. He was afraid that Wang Kai would be unhappy if he saw him. Mother. Bai Yu's eyes turned slightly red. She had heard that her mother had almost died in the Bai family. She did not expect that it was Bai Fei who had suffered first. This was the so-called karma, right? Hurry up. Bin Xiao's time is very precious. Any minute is enough to buy the business of the entire chaotic world. Wang Kai frowned and shouted impatiently. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. As he spoke, Wang Kai curled his lips and casually glanced at the void. There, Elder Bai and Bai Fei happened to pass by. Master, do you want the clever Dog King naturally noticed this scene? No need, he's just an idiot. This young master didn't want to kill him from the beginning. Wang Kai shrugged and said with an indifferent expression, what do you want to do to the Bai family? As Bai Yu walked in front of Wang Kai and entered the city, many cultivators greeted them. The leader was an old man. His aura was at the ancient sage realm. Although he was not at the peak of grade 9, he had reached grade 7. It could be said that besides the central region, this old man's cultivation was the strongest. He is the current head of the Bai family, Bai Tianan. He is my grandfather. Bai Yu pursed her red lips and said softly, Bai Tianan, the head of the Bai family? Grandfather? When Wang Kai heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched. He was speechless and said, We can't kill him, right? How troublesome. No, he must die. If it were not for him, my mother would not have to live like a servant. Bai Yu said coldly. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and felt that the Bai family was weird. Bin Xiao's name is Wang Kai. He is the domain master of the central region of the chaos world. He came to the Sacred Stone territory to find some sacred spirits to play with. Coincidentally, Bai Yu gave Bin Xiao 108 sacred spirits. Therefore, Bin Xiao wants to do something for her. It is very simple. Hand over the position of the head of the Bai family to Bai Yu. All the members of the Bai family must listen to Bai Yu's orders. Wang Kai said indifferently with his hands behind his back. Even if all the members of the Bai family were to come, they would not be a threat to him. Since that was the case, there was no need to waste time on the Bai family. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Hand over the position of the head of the Bai family, the domain master of the central region. Hearing this, the pupils of the leading old man, Bai Tianan, instantly shrank. His wrinkled old face had a pair of eyes that shone brightly. Good. I agree to this. Now, Bai Yu, you are the head of the Bai family. Elders and clansmen, why don't you greet the new head of the Bai family? Bai Tianan did not hesitate and gave the order. Finally, he took the lead and cupped his fists. He knelt on one knee and greeted respectfully. Bai Tianan greets the head of the Bai family. Greetings to the head of the Bai family. At the same time, many of the elders of the Bai family who came with Bai Tianan knelt on one knee and greeted him respectfully. This scene caused quite a few people in the surroundings to be a little stunned as they looked at it. Damn it, he must be waiting for you to leave before. Bai Yu naturally would not be so naive to believe that Bai Tianan, who had always been cunning, would hand over the position of the head of the Bai family so easily? He must have known that Wang Kai's dog had defeated Bai Fei and many other experts. He must have admitted that he could not defeat Wang Kai and chose to submit temporarily. All right, Bin Xiao naturally knows about this. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and could not help but exhale softly. It was originally a very simple matter, but because of Bai Tiannan, it became a little troublesome. In that case, with your cultivation, Bin Xiao will accept it. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled indifferently. Whoosh! Hearing this, Bai Tiannan's face suddenly changed. Chapter 1067. This isn't good, right? The old man has already given up his position as the family head. Why? Why do you still want to take away the old man's cultivation? This isn't fair. Senior, please have mercy. Plop. Seeing that Wang Kai wanted to abolish his cultivation, Bai Tiannan was so scared that his soul almost left his body. He quickly knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing to beg for mercy. Cultivation was simply too important in the world of cultivation. If one's cultivation was high, they would have everything and be respected by others. If one's cultivation was low, they would have nothing and would be looked down upon by others. Unfair? How is it unfair? Bin Xiao, who has always been fair and has never hurt anyone. You actually say it's unfair? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and said with a displeased expression, Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching the 7th grade Great Sage Realm. Master, why are you talking nonsense with him? Look at the Prince of Dogs. The Dog King wagged his tail and chuckled as if he was trying to curry favor with Bai Tiannan. He then turned to Bai Tiannan and asked with a cold smile, Do you want your life or your cultivation? Choose one. This, Bai Tiannan was dumbfounded. If he had to choose, he would naturally choose both. But in the current situation, he was afraid that he couldn't get the best of both worlds. But life and death, cultivation and life, caused Bai Tiannan to hesitate. If he chose not to have his cultivation, what was the difference between being alive and being dead? But if he chose his cultivation, it would be useless even if he died. Holy F *CK. Master, this old fella is truly AB ***. To think that he would choose between his life and his cultivation state. To think that he would still be pondering over it. The Dog King was speechless. He was truly impressed by this man. If it was a normal person, they would definitely choose their life. However, there were many experts in the cultivation world who would be as hesitant as Bai Tiannan. Perhaps, in their opinion, cultivation was as important as life. Or maybe cultivation was even more important? What the hell? Who gave him the chance to choose? Since he didn't want to choose, then he would just kill him. Bin Xiao had never liked such self-righteous stubbornness. Let's do it. Wang Kai shrugged and snorted with displeasure. I choose life. Bang! Just as Wang Kai finished speaking, before the Dog King could respond, Bai Tiannan was already scared out of his wits. His face was pale as he screamed loudly. However, when he finished speaking, he seemed to have heaved a sigh of relief. He also seemed to have lost his soul. Like a deflated balloon, he fell to the ground with empty eyes. He knew very well that everything he had in the past would vanish into thin air. He wanted to temporarily agree with Wang Kai and give the position of the Patriarch to Bai Yu. After Wang Kai left, he would take back the position of the Patriarch. In the future, Bai Tiannan admitted that he wouldn't even be able to survive in Wanshur City. Wouldn't it have been better if you had chosen earlier? Damn it. You should have chosen later. When the Prince of Dogs saw you, he wanted to tear you apart. Buzz. Bang. Ah! In an instant, the Dog King waved his paw and directly destroyed Bai Tiannan's cultivation. He even deliberately increased the strength of his paw, causing Bai Tiannan to be heavily injured and fall to the ground. Retribution. Retribution. Bang. Bai Tiannan's face was as pale as paper. He looked at the sky and muttered a few times. Finally, his eyes rolled back and he fell heavily to the ground, no longer breathing. He had died. Even if he had chosen life, after completely losing his cultivation, the strong sense of loss was unbearable. Coupled with his heavy injuries, he couldn't continue to live. You didn't die in vain. At least you know that karma will come. It's not that it won't, it's just that the time hasn't come. I only hope that in your next life, you could be a kind person. Wang Kai grinned and snorted with disdain. He didn't have any sympathy for the death of someone like Bai Tianan. His death was just like what he said before he died. It was just retribution. Family head, please save us. Family head. Seeing that Bai Tianan had died on the spot, many of the Bai family's elders and experts were so scared that their bodies trembled and their faces turned pale. Afraid that they would end up like Bai Tianan, they all begged Bai Yu for mercy. Their degree of respect and panic had reached an extreme point. Get up. I won't kill you, but if you're not loyal to me in the future, you'll end up like him. Bai Yu pursed her red lips and said lightly, yes. Thank you, family head. Thank you, family head. We'll be loyal to you in the future. Many of the Bai family members thanked her repeatedly. They were overjoyed in their hearts. This feeling of surviving a disaster was something they didn't want to experience again, because no one knew if they would be so lucky the next time. What the hell? Did Ben Shao say that he would let you go? Wang Kai frowned and sneered with a playful expression. Swoosh! As soon as these words came out, the Bai family members who were about to stand up all knelt down heavily again. It was as if the scythe of the Grim Reaper was hanging over their heads again. What are you doing? Bai Yu frowned and asked with a displeased voice transmission. Now was the best time to win over people's hearts. Could it be that Wang Kai wanted to cripple the cultivation of all the experts in the Bai family? In the future, even if she took control of the Bai family, what was the use of it if she didn't have any capable subordinates? What do you mean by what I'm doing? Do you think that's the end of it? Ben Shao doesn't like them, so he wants to cripple their cultivation. This is for your own good. Otherwise, when Ben Shao leaves, you'll be nothing. Wang Kai shrugged and replied casually. When Bai Yu heard this, she blinked her beautiful eyes and looked at Wang Kai in daze. She didn't expect that he would be so considerate of her. However, Wang Kai's next sentence made her feel as if she had fallen into an ice cave. The good impression she had of him was instantly gone. If you don't want Ben Shao to cripple their cultivation, it's fine. Tonight, Ben Shao will go out of the city to relax. When the time comes, you can come and accompany Ben Shao. At night, I'll relax and accompany her with such obvious hints in his words. How could Bai Yu not understand what he meant? He was obviously using this opportunity to threaten her. However, even if she knew it in her heart, Bai Yu had no room to refuse. After all, from the beginning, Bai Yu had decided to give herself to Wang Kai. I can go, but you have to promise me one thing. Bai Yu pursed her red lips and secretly transmitted her voice. Condition? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and couldn't help but touch his nose. He asked playfully, say it, this is what you deserve. It's very simple. First, help me turn the Bai family into the #1 family in the Stone God domain, to the point where they are invincible. Bai Yu's beautiful eyes narrowed as she transmitted her voice. Chapter 1068. Did she mean to destroy the Sure family? Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard this. Then, he shrugged his shoulders with a playful expression. Bai Yu really had a lot of thoughts. At least she wouldn't be at a disadvantage. It's really difficult to pick up a girl. Just for a single night of romance. How much blood has this young master's hands been stained with? Perhaps this is what it means to be a cultivator. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled ruefully in his heart. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Hearing the prompt, Wang Kai's brows suddenly twisted. He was rather speechless as he coldly snorted. What does this have to do with bragging? Host, what you have done cannot be generalized to all cultivators. It's just personal desire and greed. Desire and greed. Wang Kai shrugged and couldn't be bothered to refute. In the end, it was his own desire that caused this. As the saying goes, it's a waste of youth if one isn't romantic. Even though he was no longer a youth, he still loved beauty. Bin Xiao will help you deal with the Sher family, but he won't destroy them. Perhaps Bin Xiao will bring them to the central region. Before that, Bin Xiao wants to ask you, do you want this opportunity or not? Wang Kai asked calmly. Go to the central region to survive? Bai Yu was stunned when she heard this. Her beautiful eyes were filled with hesitation and disbelief. She didn't want to believe that Wang Kai wanted to bring the Sher family to survive in the central region. She hesitated because even though going to the central region was good, it was undoubtedly starting from scratch for the Bai family. If they were in the Divine Stone territory, they could still dominate. However, in the central region, the Bai family was nothing. Even the Sher family was nothing. Even if she had Wang Kai's protection and assistance at that time, Bai Yu knew very well that, with Wang Kai's personality, he would not help her so easily. In order to avoid more trouble, Bai Yu could only choose to reject. I don't want this opportunity. Now that we are in the Divine Stone territory, at least we can survive. Bai Yu pursed her red lips and said telepathically, Survival of the fittest? Wang Kai shrugged and said casually, silly is silly. With Bin Xiao's protection, you will be a peerless family in the central region. What a pity. Swoosh. The struggle in Bai Yu's beautiful eyes deepened. It had to be said that going to the central region was the best for the Bai family. At the same time, with Wang Kai's protection and his great Saint Stage cultivation base and battle prowess, the Bai clan would be safe and sound in the central region. But for some reason, Bai Yu couldn't get over that hurdle in her heart. To put it bluntly, she didn't want to have too much contact with Wang Kai. But on second thought, if she gave everything to Wang Kai tonight and let him go, wouldn't it be a loss? I'll think about it. Is that okay? Bai Yu pursed her red lips and lowered her head slightly as she asked in a low voice. Think about it. Hearing this, Wang Kai was speechless. He didn't expect that she would want to think about such a good opportunity. But in order to pick up girls, he had no choice. Girls who were easy to hook were usually not good, and those who were too difficult to hook were even worse. All right, Bin Xiao will give you a chance to think about it. But you don't have a choice about what happened tonight, Wang Kai said calmly with his hands behind his back. I understand. Bai Yu was already mentally prepared for this, so she agreed directly. Get up. For Bai Yu's sake, Bin Xiao will spare you this time. Remember to behave in the future. Bin Xiao can kill you remotely at any time. Wang Kai shrugged and said indifferently, Remote control? Kill. Hearing those words, the people from the Bai family were all extremely confused. What exactly did he mean by remote control? But in the current situation, the Bai family members didn't dare to ask too much. They only needed to know that it wasn't anything good. Yes. Thank you, family head. Thank you, senior. We will be loyal to you, family head. Then, the Bai family members were overjoyed and kowtowed to express their gratitude. Wang Kai couldn't be bothered with them. After all, these people from the Bai family were just tools for him to pick up girls. They were just tools for him to use as an excuse. You go and take care of the Bai family. Bin Xiao is going to the Sher family, Wang Kai said calmly with his hands behind his back. Going to the Sher family, Bai Yu was overjoyed when she heard this. Similarly, the Bai family members were also overjoyed. No matter how they looked at it, Bai Yu and Wang Kai's relationship was not simple. If they went to the Sher family and destroyed them, wouldn't the Bai family become the #1 family in the Shengshan domain? Why are you so happy? Little bitch, don't think too much. You're asking for trouble. Ishu, who had been staring at Bai Yu all this time, immediately sent her a voice transmission and reprimanded her repeatedly when she saw the joy on her face. There were some things that she couldn't say in front of Wang Kai. After all, Ishu knew that Wang Kai was picking up girls. Picking up Bai Yu. It's not certain who will win. Maybe you'll be the second wife. Bai Yu shot a provocative glance at Ishu. After leaving behind a message via voice transmission, she smiled coquettishly and led the Bai family away. The second wife. However, the words Bai Yu left behind caused Ishu to fly into a rage out of humiliation. Damn little bitch, how dare she make me the second wife? Ishu narrowed her beautiful eyes. Her expression was indescribably cold as she stared fixedly at Bai Yu's back. She wanted nothing more than to tear her apart. Wang Kai, who was standing at the side, didn't hear what they were talking about, but he could guess what they were talking about. That's enough. Maybe you'll be sisters in the future. Get along well with each other. It won't be good if your relationship becomes strained. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled faintly. Sisters in the future? What about that? Ishu's face turned cold when she heard this. She stared coldly at Wang Kai and said through gritted teeth, "Didn't you say that you'll only love me in this life? Were you lying to me?" Ben Shao will only love you in this life. However, Ben Shao will also love other people. Of course, he loves you more. Wang Kai smiled gently. You, Wang Kai, you big bastard. Ishu stomped her feet in anger when she heard this. Her delicate body trembled uncontrollably. Only now did she realize how naive she had been. She had been completely tricked by Wang Kai. Do you know how many people Master has said that sentence to? I only love you, and only you. Be careful. However, the Prince of Dogs will help you. The Prince of Dogs will always be on your side. Hee hee. The Dog King smiled and sent a telepathic message. Scram. Ishu frowned and snorted disdainfully. The Dog King was deflated and his eyes widened. He had wanted to curry favor with Ishu so that she could deal with the fire Xinyuan spirit. However, who would have thought that she wouldn't appreciate his kindness at all? Chapter 1069. In front of the residence of the Shi family, the #1 family in Wanshur City. The Shi family seemed to have expected the arrival of Wang Kai and the others. More than 10 elders of the Shi family welcomed them with smiles on their faces. Moreover, these elders were all in the sage plane, and the one in the lead was an even stronger ancient sage. Although he was only a first-grade sage, he was one of the most powerful sages in the central region. Sir, please come in. The family head has been waiting for a long time. The leader of the group was Shi Yunlai, the grand elder of the Shi family. He was the most powerful person in the Shi family apart from the family head. The family head had been waiting for a long time? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. It seemed that the Shi family had received news about the matter between him and the Bai family. Otherwise, they would not have welcomed him so politely with smiles on their faces. He had to admit that if he was powerful enough, he would be awesome no matter where he went. However, a troublesome matter soon followed. If the Shi family continued to be so respectful and well-behaved, how was he going to deal with them? If he did not deal with them, how was he going to get the hundreds of sacred spirits from the Shi family? What Wang Kai wanted was more than just 108 mahjong tiles. He wanted at least a deck of cards. Woof, woof, woof. Master, the Shi family is looking down on you. Suddenly, just as Wang Kai was trying to think of a solution, the Dog King beside him raised his head and glared angrily at Wang Kai, making a report. Looking down on him? Swoosh! The moment these words were said, not only was Wang Kai startled, even the 10 over-elders of the Shi family were stunned. As the #1 family in the Stone Domain, an overlord had sent out more than 10 elders to welcome him personally. Moreover, there was an ancient sage among them. Where did this look down on him come from? They were obviously being very careful. What do you mean? Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and smiled playfully. He hoped that the Dog King would cause some trouble so that he could take the opportunity to teach the Shi family a lesson. The Shi family elders looked at the Dog King. Master, what is your identity? What status did he have? The small Shi clan only had one more ancient sage elder than the Bai clan, but only one ancient sage elder came out to greet them. Even if all the elders came out, where was the clan leader? Is he dead? The Dog King shook its head and snorted disdainfully. Whoosh! The faces of the Shi family elders changed. They never expected the Dog King to give such an answer. He was really picking bones in egg. However, when Wang Kai heard this, his eyes lit up. Indeed, who was he? How could a mere Shi clan not have a patriarch to welcome him when he was so powerful? Wasn't this a little too disrespectful? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. You call this bragging? Wasn't Ben Shao powerful? Wang Kai was extremely dissatisfied with the notification. He shrugged and looked at the Sure family elders. The Dog King is right. Do you know how powerful Ben Shao is? When he was 3 years old, he could shake the central region with a stomp of his feet. Your clan leader knew that Ben Shao was coming, but he didn't come out to welcome him personally. How should I punish him? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Whoosh! When these words were spoken, the Sure family elders all had ugly expressions. Originally, they had thought that sending all the elders to greet them was already giving Wang Kai enough face. Who would have thought that not only did Wang Kai not appreciate it, he even thought that the clan leader was disrespecting him by not coming out. He was looking down on them. How could there be such a shameless person in this world? Young master, you can make the Bai clan helpless, but the Sure clan is not afraid of you. Also, our clan leader is the domain master of the Stone Domain. He is also a reputable figure in the Central region. How can he come out to meet you casually? Humph. Even if you are young and have extraordinary talent, you still need to polish your temperament. Otherwise, you will offend someone you shouldn't offend and bring trouble to yourself. You should know that the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. In an instant, several elders of the Sure clan could not help but mock Wang Kai. At first, they thought that Wang Kai was an ancient sage realm expert and was young, so it was only right to show him some respect. However, if the clan leader came out to welcome him, the elders all thought that Wang Kai wasn't qualified. If Wang Kai didn't want to give him face, they could only suppress him. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. F***CK. Stop arguing with Ben Shao. Dog King, go beat them up and teach them how to behave. Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and snorted coldly. The more the Sure family refused to accept it, the happier Wang Kai was. In this way, he didn't have to worry about the Sure family handing over the Holy Spirit. As the saying went, if you want to beat someone up, you have to find a reason. Woof, woof, woof. Master, it's a waste to let the Prince of Dogs deal with these bastards. It's better to let the fire Xingyuan Holy Spirit show its face. The Dog King shook his head and said proudly. Hearing this, Wang Kai's mouth twitched. How could he not know what the Dog King was thinking? It was obvious that he was afraid that the ancient sage Grand Elder would fight back and get beaten up again. Speaking of which, the Dog King's realm hadn't reached the ancient sage realm. The reason why the Bai family leader couldn't fight back was because of Wang Kai's intimidation. But now, the Sure family didn't fear Wang Kai from the start. The Dog King knew very well that if he acted rashly, the Sure family would definitely fight back. If the Fire Xingyuan Holy Spirit showed up, it would definitely suppress the Sure family and raise the Dog King status. As the saying goes, awesome people never make a move themselves. Teach us a lesson? With this stupid dog? Or the Fire Xingyuan Holy Spirit? I'm not afraid to tell you that the clan leader has already made preparations before you came. Even if we can't destroy the Fire Xingyuan Holy Spirit, we can make it so that it won't be a threat to the Sure family. The Grand Elder Sure Yunlai snorted coldly. Whoosh! Hearing this, the Dog King grimaced, and the Fire Xingyuan Holy Spirit flew into a rage. Originally, the Fire Xingyuan Holy Spirit didn't want to listen to the Dog King, but now it was angry. The Sure family is really arrogant. They didn't even put me in their eyes. Today, I'd like to see what kind of preparations the Sure family has made. Buzz. Swoosh. In an instant, under the fury of Fire Saint Yuan's spirit, streaks of blood-red flames pierced out, condensing into long blades and long swords that shot towards the elders of the Sure family. Don't forget that the Sure family is a family of gemstone gamblers. Summon our family treasure, the Spirit Suppression Cauldron. Chapter 1070. Forgive me for neglecting the master of the Prince of Dogs. Do you think it's possible to settle this without 100 holy spirits? The Dog King raised his head and snorted disdainfully. I think it's too easy for the Sure family to pay such a small amount of holy spirits, the invisible giant said in a low voice, scratching his head. As soon as he finished speaking, the head of the Sure family was dumbfounded. He simply didn't know what to do. 180 holy spirits. Was that something that could be taken out just like that? If it was in the past, it would have been fine. In order to save his life, he would have handed it over. But now, where could he get so many holy spirits? Why? You don't seem willing? Wang Kai frowned and snorted with displeasure. Now that he had found the opportunity to ask for holy spirits, how could he let it go so easily? It's not that I don't want to, but there are no more holy spirits to take. A few days ago, I handed them over to the Domain Master's mansion in the Central Region, the Master of the Sure family said. The Domain Master's mansion in the Central Region? Wang Kai frowned slightly when he heard this, and he couldn't help but touch his chin. He asked with a playful smile, "Old man, are you playing with this young master? Do you think the Domain Master's mansion in the Central Region needs your help?" Help? Hearing this, the head of the Sure family was dumbfounded. He stared at Wang Kai in a daze and asked in confusion, "What does senior mean by fire up?" "Idiot, it means to give a gift." Bootlicker. The Dog King could not stand it anymore and scolded him directly. Yes, you don't know. The reason why the Sure family can sit on the throne of the top family in the Stone God territory is not only because of their strength, but also because of the recognition of the Domain Master in the Central Region. Otherwise, why would the Central Region let us be in charge of such a precious place for stone gamblers? The Master of the Sure family explained. Oh, hearing this, Wang Kai frowned slightly, somewhat believing his words. Indeed, there were many stone gambling masters in the Stone God domain, and there would be Saint Spirits being opened almost every year. No matter how awesome the Central Region was, they couldn't possibly leave such a rich place untouched, right? After all, the Sacred Spirit was the most powerful thing in the entire chaotic realm. No matter how little it was still very precious. Damn, Bin Shao hasn't come out for a long time. I didn't expect that those domain masters from the Central Region would dare to sneak in behind Bin Shao's back. They must be tired of living. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and snorted with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. The Lord of the Central Region, the Master of the Sure family, was shocked. He had thought that Wang Kai was just one of the territory masters, but he did not expect him to be the master of the Central Region. Moreover, he had heard that in the Central Region, only a few territory masters had the final say. He had never heard of Domain Master. Now it seemed that it was not that there was no Domain Master, but that this Domain Master was too low-key. He was the kind of master who did not go out of the house. Now that his subordinates were secretly profiting, he realized that it was really sad to be a Domain Master. Thinking about it, the Master of the Sure family could not help but feel sorry for Wang Kai in his heart. His sympathy for him grew stronger. After all, both of them were the leaders of large forces. Although they stood at different heights, they had the same troubles. Damn, Master, this old guy seems to sympathize with you. The sharp-eyed Dog King could see the Master of the Sure family's expression. For a moment, he grinned. If the Master of the Sure family knew that Wang Kai was just bragging, what would he think? Forget it. Get up and prepare to go to the Central Region with Bin Shao. When we find the territory master that you gave the gift to, Bin Shao will deal with him properly, Wang Kai said indifferently as he carried Shuang Shuang on his back. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have gained 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for breaking through and reaching the level 8 Great Sage Realm. What, this is not good, right? I will be killed. The Master of the Sure family was so frightened that his face changed. Even if Wang Kai had the ability to compete with a territory master, he was nothing. Wasn't he courting death by coming to find fault with a territory master? With Bin Shao around, who dares to touch you? Get up quickly and reorganize the Sure family. In the future, the Bai family will be in charge of the Sacred Stone territory, Wang Kai said indifferently as he shrugged his shoulders. Let the Bai family be in charge. The Master of the Sure family finally understood that Wang Kai's purpose was not only to ask for the Holy Spirit, but more importantly, to help the Bai family gain the right to control the Sacred Stone territory. Now, he wanted to take the Sure family away and make the Bai family the overlord of the Sacred Stone territory. Even though the master of the Sure family knew clearly, he could do nothing about it. He could only pretend that he did not know anything and nodded his head helplessly. He hated that the Sure family did not have an outstanding and beautiful girl who could win Wang Kai's heart. That was why the girl from the Bai family, Bai Yu, had the upper hand. The Sure family head had already placed the focus of all the reasons on such guesses. His guess was right. Wang Kai was indeed trying to pick up girls. As for whose power was weakened, it had nothing to do with him. As the saying went, it was better to be alone than to be happy with others. Let's reorganize. Ben Shao will set off tomorrow. Of course, the Bai family may also go to the central region. At that time, the Sure family will still be the overlord of the Sacred Stone territory, Wang Kai said indifferently with his hands behind his back. What? The master of the Sure family, who had been feeling down, suddenly had a glimmer of hope in his eyes. He could not wait for Bai Yu to leave the Sacred Stone territory with Wang Kai. Why are you so happy? If the Bai family agrees, the Bai family will be the overlord of the central region, although the Sure family will be in charge of the Sacred Stone territory. With the support of the master of the Prince of Dogs, who would dare to disrespect you? The Dog King sneered disdainfully. What a fool. You don't even know that you have wasted a great opportunity to develop in the central region. Instead, you're still feeling smug. The invisible giant sneered with disdain. A great opportunity to develop in the central region. As soon as the Dog King and the invisible giant finished speaking, the master of the Sure family, who had just recovered, seemed to have aged a little. He fell on his butt and sat on the ground. He looked so down and out that it was as if his wife had been snatched away by someone else. Sigh, there are fools every year, but there are especially many this year. The Dog King shook his head and shook his body as he lamented. You guys have a good time in the city. We will set off for the central region tomorrow. There will be a great battle then. Be prepared. Wang Kai shrugged and said indifferently, You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.